In 3, 2, 1, action.
Yes, good afternoon and a warm welcome to you from wherever you're watching from. My name is Tony Blair Onyango, and we are here to give you yet another exciting edition of Face to Face with the Gen Z. And today, we want to talk about economic sabotage by the opposition on the Kenya Kwanza regime. What comes to your mind when you think about economic sabotage? And in the very context, we are talking about the Kenyan government. Have we had incidences where we can actually point out that this was economic sabotage, or this was just constructive criticism? So with us here in studio today is a group of young Gen Zs drawn from across the country who are going to help us unpack this conversation. Alongside is also a very rich panel that is going to help us answer some of the questions in regards to this topic today. So welcome, stay with us even as we delve into this topic. So right about now, I want to introduce my Gen Zs. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. Nikupatia nafasi, please introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, who you are, where you come from, and then just as an icebreaker, let us make it a bit interesting. Sindio, take one region from the former provincial system and tell us at least two counties zenye ziko hapo. So tutaanza na hapa. I know you people are 8 and tulikuwa na 8 regions kitambo, sindio? So usiseme ya mwenzako. So we can start once who is ready. Yes, Sharon.
Nice one.
My name is Sharon Mokai. I am a youth leader. I'm currently jobless. I come from Ukambani, Kitui to be specific, but I live in Nairobi and I've lived in Nairobi for a while. Among the 8 provinces, I'm going to name the central province. It has Murang'a and Kiambu.
Oh, thank you so much. Tumklokie guys, Murang'a and Kiambu Central Region. So Central imeenda. Next.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
My name is Samuel Makowia. I am a lawyer. So on the former provinces, I'll go with the Coast Province. That was of Mombasa and Tana River.
Thank you so much, guys. Tumklokie.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So I'm Grasha Asiko, a student leader at the Technical University of Kenya. I pursue Bachelor of Quantity Surveying and I am from Migori County. On the provinces, I'll say Nyanza Province.
Okay.
Yes, and we have Migori, of course, and Homa Bay.
Thank you so much. Sante. Thanks to Grasha.
Thank you so much. My name is Ambrose Mechura Albert. I'm a renewable energy engineer. I also share the same county with Migori County. So in terms of provinces, I'll go with Rift Valley, where we have Nakuru County and Baringo County.
Okay. Nakuru and Baringo. Sawa. Tuende pale nyuma.
Okay, I am Barak Blessing, a student engineer from Machakos University. The constituency, Western constituency.
Western Province.
Oh, Western Province, Kakamega and Bungoma County.
Wow. Mtu anasema zinamuishia. Yes, Benito.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
I'm Oindo Francis Onyango. I'm a political governance and leadership enthusiast. In matters of provinces, I'll go with Northeastern, where we have Mandera and Wajir.
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much, Tony. My name is Steve Biko Molo. I'm a graduate civil and structural engineer, and I'm also an real estate investment consultant. I work with the Sabotage Real Estate Investment Company. With regards to region, I'll go with the Eastern region, where we have Machakos County and Makueni County.
Asante sana. Thank you for that. Finally.
Thank you so much. My name is Onyango Lennox Ndeda, one of the zealot engineers in the continent and beyond, thriving in the echelons of structural integrity and seismic earthquake focus engineering. I come from Semikokelo Kalanderero. That is the best village you can ever find. The Rocky Lands and the comparison of Colorado, Kisumu County, that is. Furthermore, as far as my knowledge of geographical balance is concerned, I will quote Nairobi province, which of course was almost demarcated in the delimitation strategy of 2012-2013, but was again stratified and embodied as again Nairobi County without any further segregations and fragmentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lennox, for that. Tujikilapie guys. I think that was mmepita mtihani. Yes, so thank you so much for that round of introductions, and
want to bring Kili in?
Yeah, we want to bring Kidi. I don't.
Just come. It's not a church. Just come.
Yes. Thank you for that.
You can make it.
I put this on.
Yes. So even as he joins us, maybe my panel will also introduce itself. I'll start with Miss Joanne, and then we'll go to Kidi, and then Tamaliza na convener.
My name is John Onyango Obunga. I come from Migori County, born in Nairobi, raised in Nairobi. Of course, I'll think about Nyanza province. And when I think about Nyanza province, we have Nyamira and Kisii County that were under Nyanza province. Yeah.
Asante sana. Thank you for that. Kidi, thank you for joining us. We
Yes.
have just concluded the round of introductions from the Gen Zs, and now we are at the panel. So maybe you can introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Kidi. I am a friend of First the Gen Zs, and of course, one of the many sons of Honorable Doyowidi. And nice to meet you all.
Yes, Kidi, as an icebreaker, we were mentioning any of the 8 former provinces, and you are naming 2 counties in them.
Well, one, there is the former Nyanza province, which had Kisii and Migori.
Okay.
Yes.
Give us another one.
Then there was Coast province, and there is Tana River, and there is Mombasa.
Okay.
Yes.
Asante sana, that's clock for him, sindio? Yes, and last but not least is Mwalimu wa convener. Karibu.
Yes, my name is Odoyo Owedi, a very household name. Actually, in my village, they call me the Odoyo Owedi, the convener of this program. And of course, in Mombasa, we have Kwale and Kilifi. And in Western, we have Vihiga and Kakamega.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Maybe you can also clock for our panel. Sindio, si wamepita mtihani pia. Asanteni sana. So we'll get right into it. Na I'm sure you guys have gone through the topic yenye tumeambia leo, the economic sabotage. Na tunaongelea hiyo topic leo, especially from you people as the young members, the young leaders of our country. So what gets into your mind? Ukisikia to the word economic sabotage, and maybe we can start with you, Lennox.
Okay, thank you so much, T, for that. Each and everyone, I think as first speaker, it is very important for us to get the etymological understanding of the topic of the day, what we call the economic sabotage. Economic, as you know, everything related to livelihood, which can be socio-political or purely activity-based. The sabotage aspect is the art of repudiating, revoking, domineering against, and bringing what we call the hectorization of the economic approaches of a country or economic mitigation factors. And of course, just to touch base on this one before I pass it down to my contemporaries.
Yes.
Yeah. Economic sabotage is manifested in 4 main ways. Well, just when you hear that one. Number one is what we call, a surge of smuggling and counterfeit phenomenon. You sabotage. And the one that has manifested in Kenya is what we call deliberate vandalism and destruction of public property. And of course, from that point, you'll touch something on cyber, given that I'm a tech zealot. Cyber attack. That one, I stop there.
Thank you so much, Lennox. And maybe we can now move to, unajua you've even made it more complicated, but anyway, wacha tu tusonge hivyo in simpler terms. So Biko, maybe you can also try and give us, shed some light on economic sabotage, and specifically by the Kenya Kwanza, against this Kenya Kwanza regime today. So wewe kama a young person in this country.
Thank you very much, Tony. Once again, economic sabotage to me is the deliberate attempts by an individual or a group of people to ensure that government strategies to develop economy of the country is not achieved. This could be as a result of maybe protests, as a result of persuading the people not to pay taxes, as a result of telling the foreign investors not to come to the country. So it's just a series of events or activities that people engage in, and the aftermath of that is that the country becomes generally a place where cannot thrive economically. It's difficult to do business. Like for example, when we have mandamanos in the CBD, the people who suffer the most are the small business owners. That is an economic sabotage. Also, during mandamanos, you see transportation becomes difficult. That's an example of economic sabotage. And the most interesting thing is that this is always deliberate. So it's a threat to growth as a country, and it's something that is really shocking, especially now that we are seeing deliberate attempts by the opposition to even the government-owned projects, like for example, a national infrastructure fund, for example, affordable housing. These are all put in place to improve the economy of the country.
Yes.
But we are seeing some people naysaying against these developments, and as a result, we are seeing some reluctance from the Mwananchi towards this project. So that's, in a brief, is what I understand. Topic.
Thank you so much, Biko, for that contribution. And that now sets the stage for what we want to discuss today. Benito, maybe you can also share your insights on your general feeling towards that. Do you have instances where you feel like opposition saa zingine na take advantage of the projects zenye gava ina offer, and unapata saa zingine now something which may have been very, very beneficial ends up being misquoted ama inakuwa taken out of context?
Yes, even we can say that our opposition has failed to differentiate between personal interests, their leadership, and now the interest of the country, the whole, and for its citizens. Okay. For instance, I'll give an example with our opposition leader, the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, when he says that he will instruct the tourists and other countries not to come into this country. But now we have to check the facts and data telling us in the year 2025. Tourism contributed about 9.3% of income of our GDP. The cash inflow from tourism was about 1.6 trillion. You ask someone, what is the total budget of a country that was led by the CS Treasury?
4.3.
So 4.8, you subtract 1.6 from it. So if you assume that from the 4.8 you subtract 1.6, where are you going to get the 1.6 from if tourists are not coming in the country? Tourists has contributed to 1.8 million jobs in this country. If we kill tourism, where are these 1.8 million people going to? So those are insights and things that we have to check while putting the government on to check. Are we killing the economy, or are we putting the government on to check?
Okay. Thank you for that. And I appreciate the fact that you even you went into the nitty-gritties and you've given us actually facts in regards to the amount of money we may lose in case those tourists are to go by such utterances, which I consider reckless. So maybe you can also go to you, Barak, and you can tell us whether, do you think this is genuine? It is genuine criticism ama ni to economic sabotage?
For the opposition, the Kenya Kwanza?
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I believe, as we have known, the Kenya Kwanza are so selfish and they've been putting themselves first, because I believe for them even to address Kenyans, they should be telling us what they are to offer. For them, they're telling us the problem but not giving us solutions.
That is the opposition.
Yeah, for example, even the affordable housing, they're telling Kenyans, oh, their money is going to get lost, or the title deed, there's no specific one of the title deed, blah, blah, blah. But they don't tell Kenyans who have already invested in it the way forward, how they can help them. So for me, I believe it is for their personal reasons. And that I believe even if they're helping Kenyans, it's just helping Kenyans for their beneficial.
Thank you, Blessing, and of course the mic is with you, and you can also tell us, she has alluded to, the previous speakers have alluded to two things already. One, the issue of the tourists. I think it is the former deputy president who told tourists not to come because of goons. There's an influx of goons. And then there's also the issue of affordable housing, as Blessing has put it. So maybe you can share your insights as well, and not just limited to those. Maybe there are other programs where we've actually seen the opposition trying to ask certain queries, not in the interest of the common mwananchi, but basically just to oppose. Venye amesema, it is to just giving alternatives. So do you agree ama unadhani it is genuine?
Basically, I want to agree with what my colleagues have said, but also not to be that lenient to Gachagua by calling him former deputy president. Let's just call him the impeached.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he's not former, according to me. He's the impeached deputy president of this country. So one key thing that the opposition must always differentiate is between oversight and sabotage. There's a very big difference between oversight and sabotage. Whatever they're doing is sabotaging the economic strategies of this country and cheating the common mwananchi that whatever they're doing is oversight. You see, when a government come into place, they always have their manifestos that they always want to ensure and try as much as possible that they implement them. So when you come up with strategies to sabotage such kind of implementation of the agendas, then one of the key pillar that you always attack is the economy of that country. And that is what we are seeing the current opposition are doing. One of the key solutions is always to look for them and have a dialogue. And that's what you saw back when this government came into being in 2022, 2023, when there were protests against the economic strategies of this country.
Yeah, 2023,
the Sufuria movement, etc. You see, even before the Gen Z protests in 2024, Rooted looked for Raila. And we were already having the NADCO report and something of that kind going on. So as to ensure that we have a country moving. Because at the end of the day, all of this economic development, they are to ensure that the common mwananchi life is getting better with the time. But now when you sabotage, people are even sabotaging the development or construction of roads in this country. Leave alone the affordable housing. You see, affordable housing, somebody like Sifuna told us that from his community, how will the chicken get to the 12th floor? It's just telling you how such a kind of person is reasoning. You know, if somebody who is now targeting to be a president of this country is now going back to the village rhetorics and telling us that his village members will not be capable of taking their chicken to the 12th floor, then how are we going to ensure that we modernize this country in the first place? Are we even interested in making these people live a better life? Or we always just want to leave them where they are in poverty? We must always try, even the politician, they must always try to improve people's lifestyle. And that is what the current regime is doing by building the affordable housing. But what is the opposition telling us? That don't go into those affordable housing, continue living in the slum. So who is that Kenyan youth who want to continue living in the slum? Who is that Kenyan who want to continue perishing in poverty? There is none. So just as one of my contemporaries said, let the opposition, let them tell us what kind of policies they will come with to better the affordable housing, because we are not going to run away from the affordable housing. Affordable housing is just a better name of how they were used to be called. The housing program has always been there, but now we just have another name for it today. So it has always been there. And then key thing, they mentioned on the impeached Gachagua. The impeached Gachagua said that the foreigners will not come until the next election. So where is he getting an assurity that he will make government in the next election so that the tourists can come? So those are the things that need a lot of correction.
Asante.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambrose, for that. I don't know whether, Asiko, you come from Western Kenya. You amesema you don't want affordable because your hens, a chicken, will not get into the house. But maybe you can tell us what you think about his remarks, and also generally in terms of economic sabotage, and generally the opposition, because it seems in this country there's always somebody trying to fault finding. A program comes in, unajaribu kutafutia makosa. So he has mentioned the infrastructure fund and the ongoing construction projects. Mentioned affordable housing. Mentioned hapo, and I know kuna hata vitu za SHA. Some politicians in this country had even prophesied that the economy would collapse in 6 months. I don't know whether you people still remember. So your remarks in regards to ISO, and then maybe you can move to Makowe.
Okay, thank you so much. So my take on the issue of sabotaging the economy by the opposition rather, is that true? They really focus on negating whatever is being done by the government, and it's most probably because they really depend on tapping into the emotions of the Kenyans, especially those who are ignorant or not well informed about what is going on around them, which is wrong, really. And the issue of chicken is absurd. Why would you go and tell people that? Because I believe that when they were building this affordable housing, they didn't say come out of your land, whatever land you have, and live in this house. It was built for those who do not have good housing, which is a basic need of the human being. But then again, I would argue that as Kenyans, because as Kenyans we're not the opposition, we as Kenyans who say one term, we're also opposing our government. But then again, when we put ourselves under the banner of the political figures who want to take advantage of the fact that we're all frustrated, then we're going to hurt ourselves. We're going to get hurt. So I feel like we should really be able to understand that the opposition is trying to twist words or twist things for their own benefit. But as Kenyans, we should be able to come up with our own reasons for why we should be opposing the government, not the reasons they give to us. Yes.
And still on you, maybe you can tell us, does that mean then that the Kenyan voter is becoming more and more informed? Because today we can now see them questioning some of the claims even being made by the opposition.
I would say yes. And this is something we can thank the internet for, because the radical Kenyans usually come out and say, you know, these people tell you this, but can you actually verify what they're telling you? So I would say there are those people who actually choose to look into facts of whatever has been delivered to them, which is good.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, maybe you can tell us, especially now in your capacity as a student leader, do you think the opposition has been outplayed now that they resort to running into propaganda, maybe to misquote some of the projects being done by the government?
Okay, thank you. One thing is that I'll say is not that entirely what the opposition is saying is propaganda. There are some facts in what the opposition is saying. And one thing that is there is no any manuscript of being in opposition. There is no any school go to be in opposition or anything you need to do to be an opposition. You just need to have a government and a frustrated populace. And then you can go and decide that the government has failed. And people agree with you, but it has failed. And you know, and you position yourself, because there are people who are equally agree with you, equally agreeing with you that the government is frustrating us. A frustrated populace is very easy to control. So you just go and pick whatever you think is going to be nice to them, and you speak it, and they agree with you, and then you become an opposition. So it is very simple to become an opposition than to be a government. But the thing that I will say is that while we are speaking about how the opposition has frustrated or has sabotaged the government, well, there is to some extent in which the opposition has sabotaged the government. As I said, that there is no any design in which you can be an opposition. You just need to oppose the government for whatever he has not done, and to prove your point, do certain things, and which is what Gachagua and co are doing to frustrate the Ruto regime. And the populace will agree with them, because there are certain frustrations that they are going through, that someone who is able to speak on their behalf and with cameras in front of them, and a wider group or a wider populace is able to watch and agree with that, then they call the same opposition leaders, and then they say the populace is very angry with you, get out. Well, that is it. But to another extent is, how can you also talk about how the government has sabotaged itself?
Maybe you can tell us.
It's not only the opposition that has sabotaged the government, equally has sabotaged itself. One thing is, well, we have identified that there is a housing problem within the country, which I do not disagree that there is none. There is a housing problem, among other problems. But then, is affordable housing the best solution for dealing with the housing problem within the country? That is the question that we want to ask ourselves today. That is affordable housing, was it the best way in which we would have dealt with the housing problem that was bedeviling the country? We want to build housing projects or affordable housing to help those who are within the slums to upgrade and whatever. What is their buying capacity? Can you ask yourself, are they able to afford these particular houses? One thing that I believe is the social housing was a very good project that was being done previously by the Ruto regime, which Ruto being part of it would have continued with that particular project, and it was equally help. If you go to Kibra, you'll find that there are social housing program that was going there, building units that were also manageable by the community. They were not going so up to 12th or whatever floor. It was one that even the community would manage. Right now, if you go to Mukuru Kwajenga, the affordable housing going to 14th, 15th floor. One of the things is that these particular houses have not been registered as corporations, and then they are held in they are like sectional properties. There's something called sectional properties, manner of ownership of houses. So you'll find that these particular people have not been registered as sectional, these particular units. People have already started staying them. How are we going to manage this kind of 50, 60 tenants who are living here? They've not even sat down to agree how they're going to maintain these buildings, maintenance of security, maintenance of everything, garbage collection. There are a number of problems. We are building houses, but then we don't have a strategy in which the occupants of these particular houses are going to maintain these particular things. What is their buying capacity? Well, I can be employed, or Mama Boga can be able to pay the small pennies of whatever I can manage for purposes of staying in this particular house. But then, is this particular thing sustainable that we are able to manage this part, manage also the maintenance? Some of them currently are very dirty. The garbage are not being collected. There is no any cooperation with these particular people.
So maybe before we go to Sharon, I can still ask you. So what do you think would have been the best way to deal with the housing problem in Kenya? The
best way to deal with the housing problem, personally, I liked the social housing project because it was a good way of identification of where the problem is, and a sustainable way, because the budget that was being allocated, we were never being taxed for social housing, but it was already ongoing. Right now we're being taxed for purposes of affordable housing built in Funyula, in a village where there is a vast land. Every person there is able to construct a house, or people there are already constructing a house that are already living in. What is the sewerage system for these houses built in some vast area of land in Funyula? How are we going to maintain this particular residential areas when people there, their main problem was not housing? In Funyula, there were no slum. There is not any slum in Funyula, because it is just something that the government had decided. By the way, someone else can eat from supplying of equipment and materials for these particular projects. Then we proceed and build it. But you could have still supplied those things for building hospitals, which was very necessary for people of Funyula. You would have still supplied other equipment, cement and other things for building these particular things. There is a housing problem within Nairobi and other cities and towns in Kenya, but it doesn't cut across all the villages and all the streets, and you don't have to build skyscrapers in those villages for them to be pride and see there are tall buildings here and then there are dead houses there. It is not sustainable for the economy of the country, and that is a way in which the government has sabotaged themselves.
President Samuel Makoya, and I appreciate you've really gone deeply into the issue of affordable housing and the problems and therein, and I appreciate that. Of course, I do not come from Funyula, so I do not know whether they can all construct those houses, but I'll allow Sharon to make her contribution at this moment, and then to my panel, I hope you've taken note of some of the points being raised, especially by the Gen Zs, particularly in light of the affordable housing program as mentioned. I hope you'll be able to respond to that. So maybe Unazendela to the panel.
Yes, my contribution about the economic sabotage is, this is something that we as Kenyans and Kenya itself should stop it from happening. For a very, very long time, we have allowed politics to control our lives. And so our government enters and then they don't have the grace to do their work. It's politics. And we are really, really ignorant of how politics really affects us. Because at the end of the day, why do we have the 5-year period of election? So that you can choose the one that you want. You really don't have to spend your whole 5 years against them. And especially when it's affecting critical pillars like the economy. There is a 2025, there is a summit, Youth Connect Africa Summit, that was supposed to be held in Madagascar. But then because of politics, it wasn't held there. The country was considered unstable. Who lost? It was the country that lost, because every time people are going to a country, they are going there with money. And this is money that is going to the people. So when Gachagua is saying that, I don't know, people should not come, what is he? Is he really a patriotic person? And even we as Kenyans, surely, where are our standards? If we can allow a person to say that and still go around bragging. You know, we are really, really sabotaging our country. Do you know that we think that we are sabotaging the government, but who are they working for? They are working for us. And I think that as Kenyans, we need to move to a point where we need to have genuine criticism, even about the affordable housing. Myself, I think that they are okay. I've ever had a conversation with my dad and I was against them, and he told me, you know, Sharon, you people, you think that a house being very, very affordable is good until you realize that people will trick the government. They will go and take those appliances and then they sink. They go and sell them and then they go. It's very, very good that people have to deposit an amount. Because people will value whatever they are buying. But then you think that paying for 6K just immediately and then you go to a house, it's not a good thing. People will do anything to just take whatever the government has. And then before you know it, we are sabotaging the country that we have. Is he saying this because he loves the president? No. But if you love the country, you really, really have to give a government the grace period of them working. If you have a constructive criticism, then let it come out in a way that doesn't have to harm pillars that are very, very important in our society. Just imagine if we have to start, the country now continues to be in a very, very starred political, we lose it in the long run. Every time that we don't trust in the government, we really, really lose it, because it's like kama tunawekea limit, speed limit. Am I saying that we shouldn't criticize them? No, for the things that they are not doing well, they should be criticized, but it shouldn't come in a way that it has to harm the pillars of our economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. Sima guys, let us clap for ourselves because your contribution imekuwa juu sana. Yes. And Sharon, you brought a very interesting angle, especially from the angle where you think that you're sabotaging the government, while in a sense you're actually sabotaging your own country. Sindio? I don't know, next year we're supposed to host AFCON ama ni gani? Next year we're supposed to be hosting AFCON. Some of the things you may be doing thinking that una watu wengine kumbe ni sisi. And there's also this debate where we normally think it is us versus government. Sindio? Ni sisi versus wao. Yet in essence tunajua kwamba government ni supposed to serve us. We are the bosses of the government actually. Sindio? So thank you so much for that contribution. At this moment nataka ni introduce nilete panel pia wa respond, and then maybe we can go to the second round. Sindio? Maybe we can start with you, Kili. Your response to what the young people are saying in regard to economic sabotage by the opposition government.
I have enjoyed listening to these brilliant young people. From, I presume they're young people in school still. Is that position correct?
Some
are in school,
some are out. So I want to preface whatever I'm going to say by admitting or by acknowledging that the president's economic interventions have faced serious sabotage by people who have positioned themselves as the opposition. And the sabotage has come out in the form of organized political resistance and a mischievous strategic framing that is calculated to inflame the passions of the people without giving people a coherent, viable policy alternative. Clearly, the question of affordable housing has bubbled to the surface. And so I suggest we begin from there. Of all the things that have been said against and about affordable housing, let us begin with the question of the housing problem in Nairobi and in major urban centers. You know that as at 2023, And even now, we still continue to face a huge housing crisis in the city. So we must first ask ourselves, what does this housing crisis portend for us, particularly as young people? Let us begin with the question of urban poverty. When young people or when children are raised in areas that are crowded and are also unsanitary, what does that do to them? What does that do to their mental development? What does that do to their self-esteem? When you listen to President Ruto is determined to leapfrog this country from a low-income country into a middle-income country where with higher standards of income. But that does not happen overnight. Why is it that it doesn't happen overnight? One, you realize that the policies or some of the policies we've pursued collectively as a country in the last 20 years have put us on the back footing. Because you cannot talk of economic progress when you do not intelligently invest in the question of mass prosperity. And you cannot talk of mass prosperity when people live in shanties. So the first thing is that people live in areas where there is decency, or in decent areas where there is dignity, where children or where they can raise their families in dignity. Someone has said that there will be no. What did you say, man from Funyula?
There will be no.
What did you say about affordable housing?
In Funyula.
About
so many things.
Okay, about the other infrastructure to support the affordable housing. The sewerage. You talked about the sewerage.
The sewerage and maintenance.
Yes.
Of those particular houses.
So one, as young people who have gone to school, we must appreciate that the government took time to think through some of these policy interventions. And it is, I think, a little naive to suggest that an investment like affordable housing is there without auxiliary services like sewerage to make sure that people live in dignity. I think one of the things, particularly as a generation, that we must help achieve is to put an end to our thinking that progress comes overnight. We must agree that when we are to achieve transformative progress, then there is compromises we will have to make. And the compromise here in regards to affordable housing is the question of taxation. Again, my friend whom I was referring to has said that it was being financed before and it was being taxed, and we were not being taxed. Remember, at the same time, you are not seeing these houses everywhere like you are seeing them now. So let me take a little moment and deal with the question of affordable housing in urban centers. Today, you are a civil servant who has taken the oath that you will serve this country in whichever part of the country. You are taken to Busia. Busia is a small agrarian town. People have not had a need to invest in real estate in industrial scale. So you go there and there is no house decent enough for you to move your family. So you're forced to leave your family in Nairobi and you live in Busia. You're an adult, you know what that portends. So one of the things we are going to help end, or that the president is seeking to help end, is the problem that has taken place in the last years, I think in the 90s and the 2000s, where families were broken on the basis that one member of the family or the breadwinner of the family is in another town and that town does not have the infrastructure to support the family to be together. There is another thing that we must also not forget, that the question of mental health, urban poverty, and slum. Remember that when you raise a family in an environment where there is the condition is unsanitary. Number two, because it is slum, and you know what happens in slums, drug and alcohol use and abuse, the violence that comes with it. You raise children that are constantly on edge. That partly explains why you see today there is a slight surge, the question of mental health. Because as our parents were looking for money in the 2000s and trying to feed us, they sometimes had to make very difficult choices and compromises. What that has done is that our generation and your generation, the late millennials and young Gen Zs, have recorded higher mental health cases in comparison to Mwalimu's generation. Because Mwalimu's generation were growing up in an environment where some of the challenges we've had to go through, they didn't go through. So when we are talking of leapfrogging Kenya into a truly middle income country, we must address the question of affordable housing in a much more intelligent way than what Senator for Nairobi was saying, that his cuckoos cannot go to the 12th floor. And my final point on the question of affordable housing, not everyone owns land. And today, when you go to the villages, because you come from the villages, you have got siblings. You realize that if your parents do not own the title deed, then the title deed is the name of your grandparents. So that your parents alone do not have the title deeds. That brings the question of land and land holding. So when we want to do agriculture and large-scale agriculture that ensure that we are food secure, are we going to continue, as a generation, going to continue subdividing land to build our too small houses, or we can take advantage of a program like this to ensure that for the next 10, 15 years, we can put a stop to continue land subdivision, then to ensure that this land can support agriculture. You are coming into the economy as economic actors, as policymakers, and I ask you, my young brothers and sisters, that take time to reflect on some of these things. And when you offer a critique, let it be a critique that is coming from a place of information as opposed to popular narratives run by politicians who are seeking to ride the emotions of the young people to get elected, and not for anything else, just so that waanze kujipiga kifua that I have become this and I have become that. I am done with affordable housing. Again, no, before I am done with affordable housing, you remember that over and above slum poverty, one of the threats of our generation again is the question of rural slums. And rural slums is going to emerge when we continue subdividing land so that, and I will give you an example. I have 10 acres of land in my village that was given to me by my father. These 10 acres of land, if I have, and of course now you know, you can say I'm an adult, in another 10 years, I should be able to subdivide it for my children. You realize that if you continue that trend, and I am one of the people whom you would call lucky if you come from Luo Nyanza. Not many people our age have got access to such parcel of land. So you realize that we are going to be in a place where everybody is just seeking to have a small space to build land, and everybody is seeking to have a small space to build land. We are going to have rural slums instead of making sure that we protect the land we have in our villages, so that land can support meaningful agriculture, so that agriculture can be able to help us solve the question of food security, so that when you answer the question of food security, we've answered the question of nutrition. And why does nutrition matter for a country? Nutrition, proper nutrition, ensures that the children of that nation develop without any of the challenges around cognitive development. I am done with affordable housing. I will get to the question of fiscal consolidation. Nobody has mentioned it, but I think it is important. Because we've been told President Ruto was called Zakayo. You know why he was called Zakayo? Anybody who want to hazard a guess?
Tax.
Good. But I will tell you that the law says that there is something called import cover. Import cover is the money we keep to help us pay for our imports. When President Ruto came into office, November 2022, we registered the lowest import cover ever because it was at 3 months, 3.8 months. The law says that at any time, the import cover should be at the minimum of 4 months. Today, as we speak, President Ruto has built our import cover to 6 months. He has surpassed the statutory minimum number of months stipulated. And if you look at the East African countries, also agreed that they should have a minimum import cover of at least 4.5 months. President Ruto is standing at 6 months. Why does this matter? And why am I saying this to Gen Zs? One, if a country does not have a sustained import cover, that is a country that is staring at default. It was expected, and my brother Tony has said it, that it was expected that Kenya would default in 2023. Kenya did not default. What does default means? Default means, one, if you have 100,000 in your bank account, you first take what is called a haircut. In the haircut, you lose 30% of that money. So 30,000 is gone. The 70,000 that is you are entitled to now, you still can't access it. Say for the next 1 year, for the next 6 months, for the next 1.5 years, until government takes all that money. That is what Kenya would have gone into. The raising of those taxes in 2023 that was making politicians call the president Zakayo, that have made them call him Kasongo with a view of insulting him. The president was striving and doing everything humanly possible to protect this country from defaulting, from making sure that our international standing as an economy does not go to the gutter. When we came in, our country was graded very dangerously as a country that was on the brink of collapse. Today, you look at how we are viewed economically, even by other international actors. We are ranked very favorably. That has saved this country. And that is important because then it allows Kenya to be able to access the international market, to access funding that enables the government to continue to provide services in the short run as we invest in the areas that make sure that we are able to achieve what I started with earlier, mass prosperity. When I want to yield the floor to my sister Joanne, but then when I come back, I want to speak about mass prosperity and the connection between mass prosperity and the many investments that the president is doing that some people who tell us they want to become presidents are calling shiny things. They are not shiny things. They are the foundations upon which mass prosperity is going to be built. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Kidi. See, amefanya justice to the topic. Asante sana. Thank you so much, Kidi, for that. I call him the walking wakili, the walking constitution. And you can actually see from his presentation, and he has mentioned a myriad of issues, by the way. And for me, I think that was very, very necessary. So to all those who are watching us online, please, we are live on REDRING TV. That is on Facebook and also on REDRING TV on YouTube. At this moment, allow me to bring in Ms. Joanne also to give her contribution before we eventually go to Mwalimu.
Thank you very much, TBO, and thank you very much, Wakili, for that very insightful, I'll call it a treatise. Yeah, I just want to rebut, this whole issue of us, always complaining about affordable housing being nonsensical. I'll use that in quotes. One thing is the Bill of Rights. I'll go to the Bill of Rights, affordable, decent housing with proper sanitation and water is a constitutional right, for each and every one of us in this country. Granted, we asked for it in the Constitution, and that's what the government is currently doing to be able to, afford that to everyone. When you talk about affordable housing, within that program, I'm responding to you again, there's also the aspect of social housing. There's social housing, there's affordable housing, and then there's the market rate housing. So it's staggered. And the people who are in Mukuru were people who are actually upgraded from the slum into the social housing projects. So it's actually you and I and government coming in to make sure that the low tier members of society are actually upgraded so that they live decently. They have, opportunity to clean sanitation. And the president is always referring to this thing about toilets, and it's something that we take for granted because a lot of us have not been in those spaces where if you have to go to a toilet, lazima uwe na shilingi 20, is it shilingi 5? And the place is not decent, its sanitation is poor. So when we think about affordable housing, it's not only affordable housing, we are also losing that aspect of social housing within that. When we come to sabotage of economic sabotage of in Kenya today, I personally took note of it just after this current administration came into power. There was a lot of noise. Noise began immediately, even before the administration settled in. It's like there was some expectation from a certain privileged people within society, they didn't believe that, this current administration was going to succeed. And by the grace of God, I'm a believer in God, they came into power and they feared that that privilege that they had was slipping away. And noise began immediately. Remember during this administration's first budget, the budget was not passed. It had to run on the previous administration's budget for a while, after the demonstrations that we had, and the president had to recall the finance bill. So for me, that's where the economic sabotage began. I remember watching Al Jazeera, and there are certain people from the civil society who had just begun that Ruto must go. I mean, this guy had just come into power, but he must go because he cannot, he's not even able to control government. You see, the finance bill was returned. That is past someone who's incapable. So I think it was a plan right from the start, not for anything, but there's a wider something at play. Mwalimu calls them the oligarchs. The oligarchs seem to have been removed from their positions. Status quo has been disrupted. So for me, the economic sabotage that's happening is more about a very small clique, within the society than the majority of Kenyans. Affordable housing, the tourism backlash that we are getting from the Gachagwas of this world is something that is shameful, and shame on him, even for just calling on tourists not to come to Kenya, because that is a sector that employs a lot of people. I like the actual demographics, the actual data that you brought out, because it gives perspective in terms of how much that sector is supporting. And we are not only looking for the people who are employed, we are also looking at families that are supported, from those employed in the sector. So for me, this sabotage is not about Kenya. It's not about the performance of this administration or lack of that. It's about a few privileged people who are angry that privilege imetoka kwa mkono yao. They are not able to control the economic center of the country as they were. And so they are fighting back. It could even be corruption fighting back as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Mpigie makofi jamani. Asante sana. And I agree with you. You have a question, eh?
No, I'm asking, am I allowed to rebut?
Yeah, I'll give you an opportunity. Alafu utarudi tena kwa in the second round. So you can maybe just note it down, usisahau. So thanks so much, Ms. Joanne, for that, and I agree with you. And what stands out from both your presentation and Kidi's presentation, especially on the issue of affordable housing, is the question of dignity and also the aspect of equality, that not all of us are able to afford like the same, that standard of house that you're talking about. And there's always this thing that Mwalimu talks about, that most of the times we hear people complaining about this affordable housing program, are not even people who live in this area, people who have been in those places. So I think sometimes it's also important to maybe get these experiences from people who have been beneficiaries or people who have been moved into those places. The other issue that also stood out from Kidi was the issue of land fragmentation, especially in parts of Kisii and even in Migori County, where land is continuously subdivided into smaller and smaller portions, and that then generally decreases the agricultural values in there. So thank you for those insights. Let me invite Mwalimu before we move then to the for the second round. Karibu Mwalimu.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I think we need to listen more than actually talk. This is when we will get the clear picture of what is happening in the country called Kenya. Those people I call oligarchs, once upon a time, they were just called deep state. But that does not give you the clear picture of what we are dealing with. Those oligarchs may not just be members of a community. They are people who believe that they are a superior race to the rest of us. Actually, when you look at the Kenyan opposition today, that team of oligarchs, Rigathi Gachagua is not even one of them. He just happens to be one person who has the same enemy as those oligarchs. So people have mistaken me for defending President William Ruto. I am actually defending Kenyans from the oligarchs. I am actually preventing Kenya from getting into oligarchy, where some people will rule this forever and others will not only be controlled using the bludgeons and the guns, but they will be controlled using propaganda and a partisan media. The media is a very powerful tool. You have noticed sometimes in the back, one day, Sifuna is rising very high together with Babu. Then another day, they are taken down. Kalonzo goes. Another time, Kalonzo is dropped. Now it is Orengo who is up. And then when Rigathi wins and makes so much noise, looking like attention is going to turn to him, they bring back Sifuna. But the truth of the matter is this. Sifuna is not going even to be on the ballot paper as a presidential candidate, as many of you and probably as would have wished. Because he does not fall within the oligarchs, within the people who control who is who in this country. In 2012, in the month of December, it was decided that one Musalia Mudavadi, who also happens to come from a few kilometers from Sifuna's home, was going to be the sole presidential candidate to take over from one Mwai Kibaki. The oligarchs summoned Uhuru Kenyatta and the team, and Uhuru Kenyatta is a member of it, and asked him, what the heck do you think you are? And what are you thinking? He apologized and said, ni mademoni tu ilinidanganya. Okay? So he came back and had to restructure his thing and look for somebody who could be his running mate, and he found William Ruto. And that meant on the 18th of December, same month, they went and announced, now Uhuru Kenyatta is going to be the presidential candidate, deputized by William Ruto. Ruto is not a member of that oligarchy, but he's being used to achieve the goal. So what I'm trying to say is, Sifuna may get to the ballot as a running mate, maybe, if he can be used to achieve that goal, like Ruto was used. And as soon as Ruto provided the oligarchs with their second term, he became a tanga-tanga, he became a bad man, he became a thief, he became corrupt, he became everything that is bad in politics. And us Kenyans don't notice that small detail. So when I fall back to the reason why we are here, the sabotage, you must ask yourself how, why, and where. How is political sabotage executed, and why, and where? There are times when only a region can be sabotaged. There was a man in this country who once told Kenyans that there is no need for infrastructure development in regions of this country that produce nothing. And I'm sure many of you know that the transport infrastructure, the communication infrastructure, is not only used to bring goods to market, it is also used to take goods to market. So those places that produce nothing also deserve infrastructure to take goods there. And they also can develop. And even those who think they are producing nothing can go there and produce things from there. Then there is the reasons why this economic sabotage. Sometimes some people just want to dominate others. So if someone else is in power, they must sabotage him so that he looks like he's not working. They can also sabotage the economy of a region to dominate that region. So sometimes they can sabotage the economy just to use it to change regime. How does it work? It works by inciting the public, telling the public, you see, the cost of living is very high, but they are the ones who have sabotaged the development, the policies put in place to improve on your cost of living. But because you are incapable with the little economics that you have on the street there, you are unable to see the source of the poor economy. You are unable to see why the cost of living is high. You just see the president. And they talk like the president has a switch in his bedroom, which he can take up better economy and down poor economy. Yet they are out here sabotaging his policies. One of the greatest tools of economic sabotage is civil disobedience and street protests, because it affects so many things. Imagine when there are street protests, goods do not move to markets, workers do not move to work, shops are not opened, assets and property are destroyed. What a powerful tool for economic sabotage. And they use the emotional aspect of it to tell you that we are going to the streets because the cost of living is high. Yet this thing is also destroying the little cost of living you are left with. It is destroying it. Shops are closed. Employees are being retrenched. Buildings are burnt. And they are telling you they are fighting for you to have a better life, when they are destroying your life with this very fight that we can wait 5 years and we vote that bad person out, if there would be any. So they rely on the fact that majority of the voter outside is incapable of understanding the macroeconomics of the country. So some of the reasons for economic sabotage is to do regime change so that the oligarchs remain in power. Sometimes, as I told you, it could just not be the whole country. It could be just a section of it. But it could also be the whole country, so that the whole country rebels. The whole country, they will understand that the cost of living is high, but they don't want to understand why. When Joan spoke about the economic sabotage began even before President William Ruto sat properly in office. It began on 20th of March, the formal protest of 2023. That time, President William Ruto had just appointed the PSS, but they had not been sworn in because they had not been vetted. And they are the accounting officers. President William Ruto had not read his first budget that was to come in June that year. But somebody is already complaining that it's a failure, the cost of living is high. Somebody who was buying Unga at 250 in 2022 when Uhuru was president is complaining that William Ruto should go home because the economy is bad. But why do you agree with those people? Because it touches on an emotional issue. It touches on a selfish issue. Your own personality, your own livelihood. That is why people agree. The things people agree without reasoning are things which are emotional, and things which are personal, and things which are family or tribal. Those are things that when you are told, you agree, number one. When you go to school, when you one day become a mother, and the first person you meet tells you that it is your child who was offended and not another child, this is the one you believe. Anybody now giving you another story of your child was the one wrong, you will not agree. Because it touches on family. It is an emotional issue. So we must be logical in all this. Some of the things that give economic sabotage are prolonged election disputes. Because the international community monitors us locally. If they want to invest, then is there stability? Who is the president I am going to speak to? Who is the finance minister I am going to rely on? Those are issues that impede investments both internationally and locally. People tend to hold on to their money until there is stability in the country. That is an economic sabotage that reduces the number of jobs available. It reduces the amount of tax payable. And of course, it reduces every economic aspect of society. And these are things that we must look at, because there is also something called policy unpredictability. When there is so much noise and the government is gaslighted to change things they already believed in, then people watching are not certain that if I invest in this, the rules, the laws, and the policies will not change. So some of the things we can do to deal with this: insist that we are a sovereign state. We fought for democracy. When you fight for democracy, does not mean you get a democratic leader or president. No. You get democratic laws in place that will control both people who believe in democracy and don't believe. So that president comes in, he tells you, I'm bringing Tony as your Minister for Finance. You, through your elected representative, go to Parliament and say, no, we reject Tony, he's been a thief. We accept Tony, he's been a good man. That is the democracy you fight for. But if somebody tells you democracy is about changing people, you will change them forever. Because human beings are inherently selfish. They are inherently thieves. We are talking about thieves just because we are not in a position to steal. But if you are given that big pen, most likely, the first thing you will look at when you get into the office, what is the budget in this office? What has not been procured? Who controls what? What are the employment opportunities available? Even these people who are saying that the president is corrupt, when we go to the village at a funeral, you will hear them asking, wewe unaongea hapo umeandika nani? They ask that. Ujaandika mtu, umeleta nini? And those things, if you bring them the way they want, it is illegal, it is corruption. So they are just talking about corruption because they are not the ones in office to deal with that. But one of the most important things that we need to talk about, which happens by even us, forget about politicians now, is negative publicity to state agencies and state corporations. And that is done largely by people who are influential in social media. And I would only give you one example because it's been trending. There is a man in this country that is called, what is his name? This Kisii man, Cyprian Nyakundi. Cyprian Nyakundi is a professional blackmailer. Professional. He targets new CEOs whose terms are about to end, senior government officials. They time them at certain times when it is rumored that they will be reshuffled and come up with what is supposed to be scandals in them. And write them very quickly and sit back with his phone on, waiting for somebody to call him and say, Mheshimiwa wants to see you. The CEO would like to talk to you. We would like to have a conversation. Why don't you pull down? And if you live here and go and look at his timeline, there's something very significant you're going to discover. The major scandals he has purported to have exposed, He has pulled down all of them. That means they are only useful for the period he's waiting for somebody to pay him, somebody to have a conversation with him. Such things really slow down those parastatals and those who are leading them. Once upon a time, when I was chairman, Lake Basin Development Authority, there was an agency in this town that kept on giving that agency bad publicity. And I said, this is sabotage, because the government spent billions building a mall, and that mall was the center of a criminal case. And this criminal case had been investigated for 4 years. It was not ending. It meant we are not getting tenants. It was not taking off, yet billions of taxpayers' money was spent. So I looked for the senator of the county of Kisumu. I led him straight to anti-corruption and told them, this is why I have come here. The investigation of Lake Basin Development Authority must end, or you arrest those who think are culpable and take them to court, because we cannot have a government agency being sabotaged by bad publicity. We need to employ people in that place. You can imagine the number of people a mall can employ. You can imagine the income that can come from there. So we need people who are bold enough to say enough is enough. But these bloggers, we must bring them down to account for what they do. So when I was defending the cyberspace rules and laws, these are some of the things I had in mind. In the past, we did not have social media. So you needed an audience to go and accuse somebody, slander somebody. But now we have social media, which gives the opportunity to hide in your tin house in Kariobangi, stepping on your one sufuria and insulting a whole CS, insulting a whole PS, knowing that politically, looking for you and arresting you, the media will call it abduction, and the media will look for something that people love and say you have the freedom of speech, where sometimes you may have the freedom of expression. But isn't the person you are insulting, or you are slandering, or you are defaming, also have a freedom that must also be protected? But because the media currently has been also bought by the oligarchs, and they are supporting only the oligarchs, nobody else. That explains why when Hassan Omar makes a statement without naming names that purportedly supposed to be infringing on the rights of a community, there's a lot of noise by the media. But when one lady, a women rep, comes up and say anybody who does not belong to Olkalau must go back in a coffin, the media does not even want to report it. Because they are part and parcel of the united opposition to the current regime. These are things that I don't need to tell you and you go home believing them. I need to tell you, and then you go and do your own research and see what happens. So I do not want to go on, but I want to just quickly count for you that when we have these things that the opposition does in this country, the international community monitors the local media. And when they do, they assume the media is saying the truth. That's the assumption they always make. And that I have always given this by an example in which the media, precisely Citizen TV, had said that an MCA who was abducted had been found killed with the eyes gouged out, and it is the police who did it. And the international community, through their local representative, the ambassadors, European, called a meeting to demand from the government answers and accountability. But 4 months later, the MCA reappeared. His eyes were not gouged out. He was not dead. He was not kidnapped. He confessed that he was running away from his governor. They didn't apologize, but the international community was already embarrassed. The media did not come back to apologize. So when they continue with this negative publicity about their own country, it follows that foreign investment slows down. It follows that local investment wants to watch and see. And foreign investments also encourages local investments. When a foreigner puts up a factory, us also we want to build houses near there, for the factory workers to live in. My village mates also want to buy motorcycles for them to travel with. My village mates also want to grow mboga for them to buy. So this is a leveraging system, a symbiotic system where everybody depends on another. But also what is very important, people start to do what is called precautionary savings. When there is a lot of political noise, you say, let's keep my money. I may put it here in investment and then it fails to work. In 2023, when there was the Sufuria movement, when there was open the server, the cost of living is high. I had brought some 2 Chinese who wanted to put a gas plant in Kisumu. Unfortunately for me, they arrived on the day that there was a protest. But because we had booked the flight to Kisumu, we quickly moved to the airport and landed in Kisumu. We were unable to get out of the airport into the town. So they asked me, how will we then do business in Kisumu? I told them what I'll do, I'll get a plot in the safer areas near the Kenya pipeline. You know, Kenya pipeline is very well protected. But they told me, Mr. Owedi, we don't just need to produce, we need to take our products to the market. What are we going to do if this is what happens in Kisumu? Because we were reading this while we were still in China. We have arrived here 2 weeks later, it is still continuing. We have looked at the history of Kenya. Every after election, there is prolonged dispute. That is economic sabotage. But sometimes economic sabotage are by people who don't even know they are doing economic sabotage. They are too ignorant to know. But they are also direct ones, like the one Rigathi was calling for. Unfortunately, Raila Odinga also once did something like that. But one thing you must know, if we have customers, say, in the sector he chose, which is tourism, and you request them not to come, and they say, this is a serious high-level politician who knows Kenya is telling us not to come, they will seek alternative decisions. But next year, they will not come back because human beings tend to get attached to. Maybe the salon you used to go to in 2021 is the one you still go to today, and you are so loyal. Maybe the man you met accidentally at a restaurant is the one you still love today. And there are many others, some even better. Because human beings tend to be loyal. So once we have lost people because of reckless statements like the one made by Rigathi Gachagua, we cannot recover. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all that time. I'm sorry to have taken so much time.
Thank you so much, Mwalimu. Tumklapie, si ndio? Thanks so much to our panelists for those presentations. We really appreciate your insights. And for those who have been so loyal to us and have been watching us, asanteni sana pia. So I'm going to open the floor to you guys also to ask a few questions. And if there's something that really stood out for you, especially also from their presentation, you're allowed to mention. So normally say here we come to learn, and learn and relearn, sindio? And our major responsibility also to inform. Si kila kitu yenye unajua ndio ambayo unafaa kujua. Not everything that you know is all that you should know, as I normally say. So you're allowed to actually get more and more information, especially for our panelists, because you can see most of them are senior than us. So at this moment, kubalisha muulize maswali, and then also if you have a contribution, you can make it. If you have a question, pia uliza. But let us also make it a bit interesting again. I want you to give me one of the most outstanding projects you think yenye tuko nayo but has been taken out of context sana. So if it's the new education funding model, if it's the National Infrastructure Fund, if it's the Sovereign Wealth Fund, kama ni SHA, any that you think was a very, very good project, lakini unaona kwamba it has been politicized, number one, and kumekuwa tu na maybe a lot of criticism yenye haisaidi. So tunaweza anza na wapi? Yes. And also if you're learning something, please unasema tu, si ndio? Let us take this final round, alafu watajibu, and then you can close it. You can wrap it up. Yes, let's start with you.
Okay. What I'd say is that growth is painful, and it seems that as Kenyans, sometimes we are never ever ready to bear the pain of growth. And for example, the housing projects, generally looking at them, they are more affordable compared to the other houses. That is number one. Number two, they are decent houses. I mean, they served their goal. So, and at the end of the day, one of the criticism that comes is the fact that people are taxed. And Kenya is not the only country that people are taxed for houses. I mean, for Singapore to grow, it began that way. They were taxed. But it seems that in Kenya, they want to grow, but then they don't want to bear the pain of growth. Growth is too painful for them.
That's good. Clock it.
Yeah, so growth is painful. I mean, even when you are growing, you never ever get to see it immediately. But then you realize that, oh my God, things are just this way. And then later on, you are like, oh, it was growth. One of the projects that I feel like has been criticized, it's SHA. Every time you meet people, they'll be like, Aki, for me, SHA is working. Matter of fact, they even go to church to give a testimony because SHA was for real. Genuinely, I've met them and I'm like, I say ziko nadanganywa church zote, and then in different occasions, and then you look at the woman and be like, why would she lie in the first place? So I mean, SHA has worked for people. By the way, it's okay to mention where it's not working.
Yeah, exactly.
But then demonizing the whole thing and making it look like it's a very, very bad project. It's genuinely a very, very bad thing we as Kenyans tend to do. So for me, I believe that SHA does work, and SHA was meant to ensure that your major bills are covered, especially for those who have them. But then majority of the people have bad encounters, but then you realize that this one wasn't SHA. For example, if a nurse alikuongelesha vibaya, the nurse was rude. Now, how is that SHA? Surely. It is a nurse who was rude. So, SHA is one of the projects that has been very, very much politicized. And for me, politics needs to end as soon as we are past the election. Politics needs to end. It's surely sabotaging the economy of a country. Political instability is never ever a good thing. It has never ever been a good thing, and never ever will it be a good thing. Politics needs to, if we are saying that politics should start 4 months to election, then let it start there. Not everyone is just going there. We anaenda kuongelea kuku vile haziwezi fika huku, like why? For me, I want to pose this question: why does Kenya allow that? Why does Kenya allow me to go and call a whole congregation and then sabotage the, I understand that it's freedom. I understand that it's freedom, but then if it comes at some negative effects, shouldn't that be considered?
Yeah, I think, Sharon, that is why Oburu said the president needs to exercise some level of dictatorship.
We're in a democratic space. We're in a democratic space.
Really.
We are a democratic space, but then it gets to a point. It surely gets to a point, and especially when you look at the way Kenyans demonstrate. You just wonder, is it demonstration or is it violence? It's violence, because violence is any time you use force to destroy something or to destroy, so for Kenya it has become violence. I
think that is well articulated, Sharon, and I appreciate it, especially on the point of a lot of space whereby people just say anything, number one, because ni kama kuna repercussions, ndio? So it doesn't matter what I say, to whom I say it, how many times I say it. But I think then there's need for civilians and the people also to be very vigilant, ndio, in that regard.
And especially when it's a lie. Especially when it's a lie, number one. And number two, when you genuinely just do your research. It's okay, you can criticize the things that are not working. Criticism is allowed, but then it shouldn't come at a cost.
Especially hapo kwa SHA.
No, okay, watu wengi, honestly, mi wenye nimemeet, najua mwenyewe situmiangi SHA, so siwezi sema much, but for the people wenye online wanaonanga watu wakisema haifanyi kazi, but then mimi watu ambao nimemeet kwa ground, nasemanga Ruto anaweza kuwa mbaya lakini SHA inafanya kazi.
Mbona hujaregister?
I use Safaricom medical cover. Yeah.
Bwana, I'll come to you later on. Twende kwa Samuel Bwana na.
These ones are the oligarchs that you're talking about. On the oligarchs. Anyway,
I think your microphone is not.
It's not off. It's not
okay,
off.
sir.
Okay, thank you. So what I wanted to say is, perhaps the people you've met are the ones who are appreciative of SHA. That might be true. That might be correct. or not, I think it's not on me to get into the judgment of the truthness or not truthfulness of whatever you've said. But as for me, well, SHA has paid a number of medical bills. That was the essence behind it being there. There is no way that it cannot pay those particular things. But for me, I see the whole principle behind SHA was really out of nowhere. There was no any reason for SHA coming here. We already had an HIF that would have been improved if there anything that SHA has done that was not in HIF that would have still been done through that. This was one way in which he was trying to clear out the evils and the billions and a lot of billions of whatever had been done through NHIF, and now trying to destroy it, because now trying to get into behind him to look into the details of whatever looting and whatever evil that have done there. As it's already been destroyed. And this is how Kenya sometimes work. If they see that an institution, they have already crippled down an institution, or they don't want the institution, they change it. They decide to come up with another thing. When Kenya Anti-Corruption was too much on the government, they decided to disband Kenya Anti-Corruption and come up with Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, because PLO Lumumba was so much into fighting the parliament and the ministers then in the parliament. And this thing has been happening. So I think that is what has been happening. I think there is not really much difference from whatever NHIF was doing. But this was just another new way of giving tender to people. Even the tendering system of the system, or the tendering process of the system of SHA, it is something that is still questionable. You know, right now, these things, all these projects that President Ruto has come up with, it's not like these things are really that bad. The thing is, and some of the things that some of us really who believe in transformation of our country is, why can't we have these things be clear on how are we getting it? Why do we want this particular thing? The issue of housing is not lost on all of us here, that we have a housing problem within the country. But my point is, affordable housing was not the right thing to correct the issue of housing. And Joanne, while she was speaking, she referred to social housing, which I had spoken about initially. The social housing program was the best way of dealing with the issues of housing, rather than affordable housing that has come up. I can tell you, there are certain things that President will have thought that by this is another way that you will have created employment. I can tell you, there is a day we sat down with P.S. Inga, among other stakeholders, at his office in Ardhi House, up to very late in the night, when the president wanted a report on how we can recruit over 500,000 people within the affordable housing program. But all the kind of the steps that we're trying to work, whether we'll have 3 shifts on what, these things we were getting down to, like, are we able to sustain this kind of things? There are certain things that, well, you might be having a good reasoning behind it, but the implementation process of it is you're getting it wrong. And then the other corruption and scandalous things that are behind it, they're just things that are not very well thought of.
I have a question for you before we proceed maybe to Grasha, is which specific aspects of this social housing you're talking about should have been included in the affordable housing program?
I'm saying we should have proceeded with social housing, not any aspect of social housing. We should have used social housing as the mechanism of dealing with the matter of housing. Social housing, if you go to Kibra, there's a project that Uhuru Kenyatta did for social housing. And that was the first thing that was being done in Mukuru kwa Jenga. Before, it was not finished, and then President Ruto came and took it over and changed it to affordable housing. If you go to Kibra, one which was completed and completed and people already took over that particular place. If you look at the structures that were built there, and the manner in which they were not really meant for purposes of people, or the buying capacity was very low. It's not something that you're going to put you on eternity any need for you to be paying money. And I can tell you, affordable housing is not like it is really affordable. It's just the payment process of it that is made easier for people. The houses themselves, at the long last of having to pay that entire unit of a house or that sectional property as we know it, it's still going to cost you. And then the security system, we still have issues of getting back to the security tenure of these particular lands that we are building this particular affordable housing on. We still have that particular issue. And then I wanted to respond on, yes?
Okay.
I wanted to respond on the matter of fragmentations of having rural slums. I don't agree with that, because we have the Land Control Act and the Land Control Board. That are, suppose if you want to change agricultural land into other uses, you have to go through that particular process. And fragmentation is limited for land that is considered agricultural land. There is a certain extent that you cannot subdivide an agricultural land. The extent to which you can subdivide land in Nairobi is not the extent to which you can subdivide land in some parts of Kiambu or going towards those particular areas. So I don't agree with the aspect of we are going to have rural slums to that particular, and then the issues of food security and whatnot. And I think one thing as I conclude, my issue is this: if you wanted to make the economy, our economy good, the biggest thing that we will have invested in is industrialization, not affordable housing. The extent to which affordable housing contributing to the economy of the country is so remote that if the resources that are being invested in this particular building houses all over the country and all over the area will have been invested in industrialization of the country, even having to ensure that we empower those particular country and the best kind of product. If you go to China, there are regions that are notorious or are known that these particular products are coming from this particular region. This particular product are coming from this particular region. And that is why China has grown so fast and industrial so fast. So as a country, if you wanted to help our youth and help our economy, let's avoid these things of luxurious looking things for the sake of the media, shiny things. Let us go down to the root causes of how can we in the next 10 years have a plan of in the next 10 years we want the industrialization of the country to get to this particular point. We already have the production capacity and the market capacity or the buying capacity from the people within the market to ensure that we emancipate ourselves. Because in the next few years we'll be having so many unemployed and so many goons and whatever things, people turning into goons in the country.
I want to correct him before we forget, because this is critical. He's saying that the land fragmentation issue is not existent. It is. And especially with the advent of the new constitution, I work in the law reform and policy and law reform space, and I'm currently working with Kajiado County on the issues of land management. It's a big problem. One, land and fiscal planning is a county function. And there's no county in this country that has a land management law to do what you're saying.
Their number, I know Kiambu County have already done their land, their physical, it is called the spatial plan.
Plans, but those cannot be effected without a law in place. You cannot effect a spatial plan without a relevant law to demarcate and also to issue, the what do I call it? Land use. You need a law to be able to implement issues of land use. And that is something that is missing in this country. It's a space I work in. So I'm sure about it. So with the advent of the new constitution, it's a big problem. That's why he's bringing out the problem that he's saying. County governments have not taken the responsibility to come up with land management laws, land use laws, none. I'm building one for Kajiado now, a land use law. And it's very slow, right? So I think I just need to correct that.
Through Tony. Thank you for the correction. Permit me to add. I admire my brother's passion. You are going to be someone this country is going to benefit from his energy. I might only want to add that I suggest you read more. There is a pressure on land that comes from family land. Because then when, say, you are a father or mwalimu here, and mwalimu now has children who have to, build their own houses, that is going to be pressure on land even before what Wakili is saying has kicked in. So I think that the question of rural slum is a reality that we must find an intelligent way to deal with. And the suggestion that the law is a silver bullet, again, I do not think that the law in itself will cure all of that. It will take deliberate government planning and thinking to make sure that we do not end up with the rural slums. Thank you.
Urban sprawl is a big issue in this country. Big issue.
Thank you so much.
And the people who will, keep land for agricultural use in this country in the future will be the billionaires that we'll have, because there's a lot of subdivision that's happening. Yeah.
But at that particular point, who is the problem? On the aspect of the land, an economical fragmentation of the land, is it not the counties and the physical planners within those particular counties who are approving all these processes?
That's what we are saying, that there's need to be instruments, proper governance instruments to be put in place so that we can begin to use land properly, decide that. And I think in essence, that's what the government is trying to do, so that you do not subdivide agricultural land for inheritance purposes going forward. Your private land is your private land, and you do whatever you want to do with it. But then again, government can put in place policy and law to be able to control that. For many years, you could not subdivide land in Karen here beyond 5 acres. But I think that was a bylaw that was removed at some point. So now that's how you get land subdivided to small units in Karen. You could not even build apartments or even townhouses in Karen. But because of the pressure on land use, those are changing. And I blame the county governments for not putting in place those controls. Yeah.
Many thanks for those contribution and clarification. You have something, Nicolas?
Okay, I wanted to say, he said that the houses are not affordable. They are affordable compared to, if it's a government bed sitter, if you compare it to other bed sitters that are built by private people, they are affordable. Tony, what I was saying is that we really can't have a country where we want to build houses and make them completely free. Then Kenyans will not value those houses.
That's true.
Yeah.
They will not place any value on those houses. That's why you will get these stories where people would go to houses, and because they are free, they would steal whatever they can, even if it means breaking. When we say that they are affordable, we do not mean that they are completely free. We mean that compared, genuinely, even do your research, and you compare with the private entities. Those do your research at a online.
Thank you for that clarification.
We had a Homes Expo recently. We had a Home Expo just like a month ago.
Can I say
here? Did you get the report of the uptake rate of affordable housing or those particular units? Have you read the Bomayangu report or the expo that recently happened on the uptake rate? How many people? First of all, I didn't say that there is no housing problem. There is housing problem, but the whatever is being done is not the solution of the housing problem, because even look at the uptake rate. So many people registered thinking that this was a good thing. A huge number, about I think so big percentage of people registered. Going down, less percentage of people deposited the first nini, and then now the continuous payment has completely got down, and people right now are very much uninterested with those particular things.
Because they are not affordable.
Because they are not affordable and sustainable.
But what she is saying is that affordable is relative. So what is affordable to you may not be affordable to her. But let us take a response from Ambrose, and then to Ambrose, you had something.
Okay. I just wanted him to give us some statistics as well, because is trying to compare social housing and the affordable housing. So first of all, how are the social housing constructed? What did they had in mind? And were there charges when getting to this kind of houses? And how are they being managed? Because you also alluded that the affordable housing management is very poor.
Okay, thank you. If you go to Kibra slums, there are social housing. First of all, if you're looking at the management, let me now deal with the management problem. And Wakili, to the crew, Wakili seated here will agree with me that currently we have sectional properties. If you're doing apartments and you want to sell them each apartment, owning ownership of those particular houses, those particular section of property have to be converted. They're registered under corporation that's supposed to manage that particular thing. If you're buying each particular thing, you're buying a share of all those, each person is buying a share depending on the number of units. And then there is a management or a board that is supposed to sit and manage. And people are supposed to pay money every monthly or depending on how, for management of or the common users or the places where people are using the common users are supposed to be managed by this particular board or this particular company. If you look at the structure of affordable housing, these things are going to 14th, 15th floor. Each person is going to own their own whatever units and everything. The management system of this particular affordable housing has not been provided for anywhere. People just come and sit, come and stay. Everyone wants to run their own thing. Remember, we don't have a landlord here. We don't have a caretaker in this particular place to ensure that the sanitation of this particular places is very good. Okay. If you look at the garbage collection of
can you just go direct and tell me, you are going deep into something I don't want. Can you give me what I want? Give me this social housing. How are they built? How are they being managed? Can you tell me before you
social housing, let me tell you. First of all, they're not going to 14, 15.
Okay, what is the finance like in terms of money? How much are the government
finance those particular houses?
So they are free.
They are not free. They are not entirely free. But the money that each person, they identified, first of all, the locality, how many people are being affected by the land that was going to be used. And then they transferred these particular people to these particular areas. The amount of money that was being bought with those particular houses, some are bed sitters, some are, I think, 1 bedroom. It's very minimal.
Okay, how much?
I can't entirely tell you how much was it. Okay. But the amount of money that was used for purposes of getting into those houses and the management system is very well right now. If you go to those houses...
If you don't have the numbers, how can we know? Because for affordable housing, we know. So you have to give us the numbers.
So let me help you somewhere. I think the problem here is the distinction between the affordable housing and the social housing. We need to be very clear what are the two, rather than what they look like. Affordable housing and social housing, they look the same. But social housing is given to the very poor and they pay little rent on them. Affordable housing is given from the poor up to and not poor, and they buy them off. So we need to be very clear the difference between the two. And then we move on. I think the society we live in today need both types of housing systems. There's something people are running away from. During Jomo Kenyatta from 1963, public housing was almost mandatory. If you're working for the government, you live in a government house. If you're working for a school, you live a school house provided by the school. And if that did not happen, you would be paid for not getting a house in that school. But as time came on, these houses were being sold pole. I don't think it was the right thing to do. Housing is one thing that improves health of a society. It improves security and safety in a society. Safety, I mean, when the slums are too close, fire in one house will destroy everyone. Security, you know what I mean. Safety, you know what I mean. So these things are good things to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mwalimu,
for
that.
Permit me to add something. Okay. By 2023, Kenya had a demand of 250,000 housing per year. That was a demand. The supply was only 50,000 per year. So that is part of why, to bridge this gap, the government had to come with what Wakili calls governance tools that would help close this divide. And that is where affordable housing comes in. Yes.
Thank you for
There's
that
been a
clarification.
serious housing problem in Kisumu specifically that has been solved with this affordable housing. I mean, people are buying, the houses, but it's providing opportunity for housing for the bigger population. So, well, and then I think what I need to mention also, affordable housing is also to sustain the social aspect of the social housing, because these people can only afford so much, but the social amenities within the social housing need to continue happening, the water, the cleaning, like you're saying. And I believe that government has people. I know for Mukuru, they were trying to get, the people themselves to come up with ways of handling the cleaning and all. Huh?
Just fail.
It has failed.
It does not. It does not work.
Does he live there?
It does not work.
No,
wait.
there's something very interesting about.
Don't get emotional.
No,
It's okay.
it's okay.
It's okay.
Who's getting
Calm down.
No, let's get something about communal living also.
Yes.
Affordable housing is not entirely to make housing cheap only. It also makes communal living cheap, because you'll have one watchman for 30 people.
Mhm.
If you don't have this affordable housing gathered together in one place, you will have to live on your own, have your own watchman, and some people, because the thing a Kenyan fears most is paying rent. And that is the reason why slums are increasing, because either you want a very cheap rent or you want to put up your own so that you don't pay rent. In the end, slums grow. Slums are the incubation places for all sorts
Crime.
of diseases,
And
all
crime.
sorts of crimes, all sorts of dangers to society. I used to have a mechanic who used to live in the slums of Cuba. One time he was sick and I was told to go and see him. I found he was living in one room, one wife, and 5 children. That means if any one of them is sick, everybody is sick. If there is danger, everybody will have to face it. So we need this type of communal living. It is easy to pipe water to 1,000 people at once than 1,000 people separately. It is easy to provide security at once. It is easy to provide all social amenities when people live together.
True.
And it's a reduction in the cost of living for everyone.
Yes, guys, in all fairness, there are people who have not spoken for the last 40 minutes. Please just allow me to go to them and then we come back for the closing remarks. So, tuende kwale Grash and then to Ambrose, alafu kule nyuma.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll start by again saying something on affordable housing. Don't complain much about how high the building is, because land is not expanding with relation to our needs for land.
Clock it.
Yeah, we have to go up so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. And then on maintenance, I remember when we were in Mukuru, again, in as much as I'm a one-time person, I am I am a very fair person also, in that I give credit where it is deserved. Yeah. When we went to Mukuru, when this guide was giving us a breakdown of the rent, he told us part of the rent is for the maintenance purposes. That is garbage collection, lift maintenance, and all that. So I feel like it's accommodated. So the worry should be, are they actually going to keep the end of the deal? They're charging us for the maintenance. Will they maintain?
Yeah.
That should be the worry. And on economic sabotage, I have to agree, regrettably, that the political figures of the opposition are, of course, using our emotions for their benefit. But then I want to bring up something else. If you look at war, the best strategy in war against your enemy is to ensure his food supplies don't reach to them. Okay, it's one of the strategies. I don't argue it's the best, okay? So, and there's something like, there's two aspects I know of. There's peace with justice, and there's peace at all cost. Now, if we say that we are just going to complain about things that are going on in our country, but then but then the people who are actually oppressing us are cashing in whatever they want, they will look at us while we protest peacefully on the roads and do nothing. So you realize that the best strategies for the people is to ensure they don't get that money that they always collect. That is why we decide we will not go to shops, we will not, you see. So if this protest is actually by the people for a valid reason, I would say sabotaging the economy would be, not sabotaging the economy, I don't use that. I would say ensuring that the people who are oppressing us don't cash in their money would be one of the strategies for us.
Okay.
Because again, one of the panelists mentioned is that when you're dissatisfied with something, you have to wait through until the next election, or you address your problems through your member of parliament. One behavior we've seen with our members of parliament is that they're actually out here campaigning for the president. So you're wondering, if you are campaigning for the president, when I have something that is against what the president wants, chances are you're not going to represent me with that. Yeah, so we cannot rely on the members of parliament. And on waiting until election, the question usually is, are we actually going to make it through the 5 years? If you look at the payroll of a civil servant, with the introduction of SHA, there was increase in the medical cover, the salary deduction that goes to medical cover. At the same time, they have introduced affordable housing, which is being deducted from their payroll. At the same time, they've introduced the new funding model, which has increased the fees by 3 times. So you're looking at this payroll. This person is struggling, okay? This person is really parting with a lot of money, which they would have used to survive. So the question is, are they going to survive until the end of those 5 years? You find people are desperate enough to look for other solutions. And that is why you find people protesting and ensuring they disrupt the economy in some way, so that the people who benefit from it actually now come to listen to us. Yeah?
Thank you. I think your question is quite clear, and I know it will be addressed by one of our panelists, especially as to whether they can survive for these 5 years, and whether some of the options they are going for are actually legitimate, as you put it, if they decide not to pay taxes or to go to the streets. But let's listen to what Ambrose has to say.
All right, thank you so much. You see, first of all, just as one of the panelists did mention, we always need to listen a lot, and as well try to read and learn, because you realize that when you just depend on the information you already know, then things change each and every minute that you always need to work on. And therefore, I would really wish my brother to embark on that, so that he really gets to know how things really work day by day. Secondly, getting back to sabotaging the economic models of the government, another key pillar that I really would wish to mention, and that which is in line with my professionalism, is on the energy sector, where you see you also have some environmentally sabotage who do sabotage the government. Like in the coastal region, these guys have always have a problem with the electricity, and even to date they always undergo power shading. Where some given good times they always don't have electricity. And as a matter of fact, I am in one of the KPLC groups in Coast. Each and every day you go to Kwale County, there's always a problem of electricity. Each and every day there's always a problem of electricity. So, and we all knew that the government had a plan of having a nuclear power plant in Kilifi. And even before the nuclear power plant, the coal plant that was also to be at the coastal was also sabotaged and went down. The nuclear power plant that was to be constructed in Kilifi, and you guys really know that we had Nupea that was really working towards this. It was really badly sabotaged, and actually Nupea even went really down in the first years of government Ruto's first years, but it is now back with an intention to have the nuclear plant in Siaya. But even this one in Siaya, the environmentalists are already on it again, really trying to sabotage it, and even some guys calling themselves professionals are also into it. So you wonder, what kind of professionals are these who really want to sabotage such kind of an investment? Because one, if you're looking into investment in this country going forward, we are now on the EV, electric vehicles, good. In terms of data and everything, the data centers, good. The amount of power we really want the current renewable energy sources cannot sustain. Actually, the country is utilizing a lot of fossil fuel to support the grid. More so in times like this when we are getting to the night, we really have generators that are really running in this country to really support the grid, to ensure that at least the city remains with the light and some other parts of the country. And even some factories at night always have to shut down because the electricity cannot fully support their operation. So we also need to ensure that we educate these guys really well, because as much as I am concerned, today the nuclear power plants, the technology have really gone up to a state where you cannot doubt the production of electricity from the nuclear. In as much as for me, my only concern is the discipline in our country, because we all know what a nuclear power plant can do. It is also a war weapon. So when it is also a war weapon, then it requires us to have a very high level of discipline. Then our question would be, are we going to have that high level of discipline in terms of its construction? From the construction point of view, are we capable of constructing a nuclear power plant that can really sustain us? Because, when we always check some other construction within the government, some of the thing government construct, some of them does not always meet the quality standard, perhaps international. But even some of them are always overlooked by international organizations, but we still have them under the work is always underdone. Then now, how about this nuclear power plant? Because for nuclear power plant, any single mess can lead to a disruption of the entire country, very catastrophic. So that will be my point. And then environmentalists really need to also do their background search well, so that let them be part and parcel of the initial feasibility study, so that each and everything being done can always not just be positive. It also have to be negative and positive. But you weigh and find where does the beam balance the best. So that one would be my big interest into it. And then finally, I just want to thank John for giving me an highlight. Of course, I didn't know because I'm having a problem with land back at home, that it is in the hand of the county government. But because the parliament already gave them opportunity to give us land into parcels, but it is the time is elapsing. They were given only 6 months. There's only 2 months remaining, but we have not seen anything happening. Kumbe, they don't have the law. Perhaps they are struggling. Otherwise, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ambrose. Then we can go to blessings there, and especially the issue of energy is very close to my heart, especially as an electrical engineer, and we understand the benefits of having a nuclear power plant, by the way, now that it's going to be set up in SEA. So I'm happy that you highlighted that, and I believe in the same breath we can do the same. We were talking about that one project that you think was very, very close to your heart, that was so massive, but then you feel it has been overtaken either by politics or vitu kama hivyo, sindio? Thank you so much, Ambrose, and I hope Joan will also help you in the query that you had, sindio? Yeah.
We should deal with our Migori, urban planning.
Yes, bless it.
Okay, first I want to be honest. Our panelists are two-term, with all of them. They are biased.
How do you know?
No, on how they reason.
I am in two-term, that's correct.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
And you are in?
No, for me, I'm one term.
You are in one term?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So for me, why am I saying this? If they were able to tell us the importance of the affordable houses, why not tell us the problems or the challenges they're facing there? Why don't they want to bring us to the light as the way he was bringing us to the light about the affordable? Because we can't pretend there are no problems.
Challenges are there.
Yeah. Also, the thing again, I don't support Ruto.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah, which is okay. And I believe everyone has a say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How can you implement a law without consulting your fellow Kenyans? In short, if I'm working, let's say I'm earning like 30K.
Which law is this?
No, relax. I'm still explaining.
Okay. So,
let's say I am earning 30,000 and SHA was brought. A lot of Kenyans were against it, yes or no? Yes. But did the government continue and implement the law? Yes. And were some of the Kenyans frustrated? Yes. And now that's where the opposition gets the chance. It gets a frustrated Kenyan, and now through emotions, I'll be like, one term. But
Okay.
but the problem is, even the people in two-term need to tell us the challenges the government is facing. We can't pretend that the government is an angel, because most Kenyans' problems are because we have an unable government. So one solution I can give the government: create a people-centered system. This will prevent a lot of problems, like the SHA protest and everything. If you come to light with Kenyans, bring up good strategies, come the way you tell us the good things, tell us also the bad things. Let us be prepared both ways. Not, it is nzuri, but there are problems.
Okay.
So I believe, again, check on that. And I'm not against mental health. I'm not against affordable houses, because it's better than nothing. And I believe, according to the pattern we are going as Kenyans, the two-term is better than the two-term, like the current government, is better than any other government you have ever had in terms of development, equity, and everything. I'm not against that. But wasijifanye they are clean.
They are clean.
No, like if it's bad, it's bad.
Okay.
And I want you again, the way you told us the importance. Tell us the challenges and how Kenyans can curb it or prevent it. Because even my fellow also said that
your fellow
about the affordable houses. Everyone is against him. But you're saying the truth. People like hadi unajua penye watu wako wengi. Kuishi na watu ni gumu. Ashasema it's going to be dirty. It's true or false? False. Hujaishi na watu.
Let us be tolerant. Let us be tolerant.
Okay, make your case and then so that then we
because what we do here, by the way, is that akisema point yake.
I'm also emotional. Relax.
Mimi ndio na moderate show magari.
No problem.
Mnataka kuchukua di kazi yangu. Nasema hivi, hapa what we do niko na side yangu, si ndio? So I'll give my explanation. Unaona? So it can either persuade you, na wewe unaweza leta explanation yako, try to persuade me. So you can't force me kuona mabaya mali sioni, ndio. But anyway, that is for them to respond to, which I'll give them time to. Wewe unaweza endelea tu na your logical explanation. What's up?
Anyway,
stop playing psychological
nobody's playing here. Kuna mtu anacheza.
Trying to intimidate you.
I was trying to say that let's stop trying to play psychological game of intimidating someone. Just give them a chance to say whatever they want to say, whether it is making sense to you or not. They have a right to express it, and don't get emotional when two-term is being spoken against.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to take at heart, but we are here as Kenyans. So, in short, I want to tell the two-term whatever. Yeah. Go tell your government, okay, that we Kenyans, we want a centered, like a people-based government. Meaning, there is no way, even the way I'm in my 20s, let's say right now. Even if I reach in my 40s and there are some things I won't be able to do. I even live to work so that the government cannot benefit from me. Why am I saying this? At this state, I believe we should be informed more. More. Without the government, before they decide on anything concerning Kenyans. Yeah, not decide for us. I have a problem with that. personally.
Public participation.
Yeah, they keep on deciding for Kenyans things. They do things and it may be beneficial, but without telling me the truth, without giving me real facts in the table, I'll be against it.
Sawa. Na ile swali yangu ya haujaona anything yenye unaona maybe ingekuwa ya faida maybe imepitwa tu na siasa. Just a good project that you think maybe
Okay, even the SHA, the affordable, they're so good. I believe there are so less unfortunate Kenyans who can't afford the services at full prices, and it's so good. I'm not against it. But the accountability. Na hapo ndo sasa watu wa corruption wanapata hata nafasi.
Thank you so much, Blessing, for that. Always a pleasure having you here with us. Tuacha tuende kwa Benito.
Yes, starting with a project that the government has implemented or done, which I love to appreciate. Anyone who has traveled from Nairobi to Kisumu, Migori, Busia, Western or Nyanza, understand the problem we are facing in the Nairobi-Busia highway. I once slept in that at Naivasha Weybridge. I was there for 16 good hours. So you can imagine you've come, umetoka Nairobi saa 4, you're reaching Naivasha at 3, lakini unataka hapo mpaka kesho ama kesho kutwa asubuhi because a trailer ilianguka.
So ulikula Christmas hapo kwa barabara?
Yeah, I was there. So the REDRING Mau Summit is going to be a game changer for we people. We have to appreciate the small things for us to be able to appreciate even the greater things that will come later. Another thing I want to say is this. One great man, my professor, Professor Onyi the late, may the Lord continue putting his soul at rest well, told me one thing. As a mathematician or a statistician, perfection is an infatuation. It means that you have overlooked the considerable factors. Now you are looking at perfections alone. We can't expect the system or the government to be perfect. And when we criticize, we should not be putting it at a negative angle. Instead, we should be telling them, you ought to have done this and this. So it looked from a policy angle, but not a biased angle. Because if a project is benefiting the majority, I have no problem with that. I might not have a problem to live in the affordable housing, but someone else dearly needs it. Just like I've said, anyone who has traveled from Nairobi to Kisumu, Nairobi to Busia, knows the problems that we are facing on that road. But anyone who comes from Nairobi to Mombasa Road, heading to Mombasa or coast, if you tell them about the REDRING Mau Summit, they will tell you that's a lie. True? Now, the bigger generation today, we are claiming to be the Gen Zs. There is one thing we have to know. You might know something, but you are not informed about it. True?
Very true.
Today, I see even someone who never stepped in the school of law will want to argue with a lawyer about matters of law. Let me be factual. Mi si wakili. But growing up, I knew wakili ni kujua tu katiba kwa akili. We ingia kotini na katiba, sema, oh, you are Lord. Hiyo ni kuwa wakili. But now, when things go hard, I realize, kumbe hata hapa kwa law, we have different sections and different things that happens. One, the case of Obado made me understand that we have someone who is called a criminal lawyer. We have someone who is called a financial lawyer. So, however much you know, always try to accommodate the information from the other person. However much you might not be comfortable with them, but it is an information and it will open your eyes in another angle. True. Yes. Like today, Wakili has taught me something. I didn't know that it exists. Import cover. Yeah. Me, if you could even stop me today in CBD and tell me, if you tell me what an import cover is, and I'll give you 10,000 Kenya shillings, ningeshindwa na hiyo pesa ingeniacha hivyo. But now entering this room, I came knowing very well, I know. But there are some things I am not yet informed about them. And now, what brings us here? As Kenyans, Gen Zs, our fathers, our mothers, and those who went before us, we have three things. And that's why when I was introducing myself, I say that those are the things that I'm concerned with. Politics, leadership, and governance. Someone said here that politics does not control our lives. You are lying. Politics controls the basic point of your life, even at family level. There is a rule when I was young, when I enter the house and my mother speaks, I know, no, that's the information from my father. That can't be my mother. And no, when my elder brother speaks, I know, no, that's information from my mother. That can't be my father. Yeah. No, that's politics at family level. Today, the president we have today, it is politics that gave us him. But the governance we have today, it is the leadership that gave us the governance system. Yeah. That's why we have the president at governance level, and now we have the ministers at governance level, the CS at governance level. Okay. We should now know the clear lines between these three things. What politics should be playing, and after politics, what governance should be playing, and what leadership should be playing. True. Because we tend to put blames on institutions that even are not supposed to be called names in some situations. And for example, today, I'll give an example with Nairobi County. Today, you'll hear a member of parliament calling out the governor. Like, for instance, here in Starehe, when there is a lot of drainage issues, the MP will say the governor isn't working. But now you ask yourself, you as the member of parliament, what have you done at your own capacity to solve the problem? Then you realize we are putting blames on the wrong people and the wrong time and the wrong places. I have no much to say.
Thank you so much, Benito and Francis, for your contribution. Wacha tuende kwa Biko tusikia anasema aje, alafu tumalize na Renox, ndio? Yes, Biko.
Yeah, thank you very much once again, Tony. There's a reason why Face-to-Face Gen Z will forever remain my favorite program Saturday afternoon, because of the facts that is being dispelled here and the fact that it is raw and unguided. So,
unguided and I'm here, bro.
It is legitimate. So, there's an author called Carlos Maria from Italy. He was an economist and a businessman who wrote a book called The 5 Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. And in his book, he describes a stupid person and somebody or a group of people who do something that causes loss to other people, but themselves also they don't gain anything and also experience loss. So they do something that causes a lose-lose situation. That is the current scenario. That is the current scenario the opposition is depicting in our country today. Because I see a lot of hypocrisy and a lot of drama. People just want to hold press conferences left, right, and center. And when you listen to what the things they are trying to present, they don't make sense. When you sit down to interrogate whatever they're proposing, they cannot add value to you. Yet, they claim that this and this is not working, but you know very well they're on salaries. They're earning, they're eating big. They persuade the youths to go and rob shops. They persuade the youths to go and destroy roads. To me, this is not comfortable. And finally, Tony, because I don't want to speak much, Robert Greene in 48 Laws of Power talked about infection. And he says that avoid the unhappy and unlucky. There are people in this world who will never find anything good in anything. If they are hungry and you give them food, they'll tell you, I didn't want food, I wanted water. If they are sick and you take them to the hospital, they'll say they didn't want to go to the hospital, they wanted to stay at home. So, in whatever you do, be wary of such kind of people. And that is the position for you in Kenya today. Thank you.
Wow, clock it.
Thank you very much. I think it is pertinent and penitent of us to discuss the perennial approaches towards this. I'll start with Makowea direct. Yeah. Makowea, you see, the thing is that when you design a building as an engineer now, we were told to talk in our professions a bit, registered in this country and beyond to operate and demolish building at my will. Yeah, you design a building to last for at least 50 years. That's the design process according to the British standard and the Euro norm 4273 of 1997, part 1, clause A. That is the design we are using. 50 to 100 years for a commercial building. For an office building, 100 to 150 years. If you want to do a bridge, at least 75 years. All these things have a code. So these engineers don't wake up and tell Ruto, what should we do? No. There's what you call compliance in this country that you must obey, the so-called National Construction Authority that will exist whether Ruto is president or not. In the next 100 years after we have become fossils, those laws will always exist. So when you see somebody saying that you go to Bosia and their chicken cannot jump for 36 meters because 12th floor and the building is 3 meters, that's 36 meters, right? Yeah. So then you realize that there's a problem. That kind of archaic thinking is mad. I also want to venture a bit in the trajectory of blessings. Yeah, you see, you are blaming the panel who are totem people. No confrontation. You don't confront me when I'm talking. Yeah. So, and you're saying that totem people. You see, as an opposition, you are always to identify the wrong things in government, while the government is to speak about the good things only and assume there are no bad things. That's the distribution of responsibilities in a societal civilization. Yeah, that's how it works. So don't tell them that even in this government we also have some problems. No, you don't expect that one. Now I don't know what's going on here. Can I hear silence? Yes. A quick one. You see, OTB, organisms, as like us or anything, whether it's an arthropod or an arachnid, are meant to survive in two distinct approaches. Number one is immortality. If you cannot have immortality, you reproduce. That's how we survive. And given that human in nature, we are all mortals, we have to reproduce. And that is why when somebody is talking about the land subdivision, it cuts me, even from the edges of the cosmos and the universe. It reflects back to all of us that we are going to have children and children and children and descendants and offspring. I will leave Africa a bit. Allow me to go to Newcastle in UK in the Industrial Revolution era, when people are being sent by force in 18th century. If you cannot give your land for mining or anything, you go back to the rural, whether you like it or not. No argument. And that is why we have the Newcastle Regeneration Project. You go to the Rhine in Germany, crossing to Austria and Belgium. People are being forcefully, no negotiation, no public participation, no opinion. Go back to the rural, surrender your land, or you work there as a slave in your own land. No compensation. That is why right now we have countries there. People are actually crying for visas to go to those countries that we all think were being oppressed. While our grandfathers at that time were celebrating land in Seme, taking rocky lands for no reason, right now we people who are the descendants of those people are now venturing. When you go to Spain here, people are swimming across the Mediterranean Sea, swimming to just go to Spain. It is happening. Why? Because this was made very interior and what we call perennial decisions towards their problems. As before I venture into my conclusion, right now, that was a problem at that time. When after World War II, the times of Winston Churchill, Mary Thatcher and Theresa May, such caliber, and you go to Germany, the times of Adolf Hitler, a name that people don't like to mention, but he is a benevolent man to his own countrymen. What they did is that now we have ruined our lands, we have ruined our minds. Now, how are we building together? And that is why right now, when you visit Newcastle University, that I've ventured there on my own, is built on purely a brownfield Bartley project, coal mining project, and it's the best infrastructure you can think of. After this one, I'm going to send you my presentation. Yeah, it's a very serious adventure. But let me venture back to Kenya a bit, come back to Africa so that we localize this argument. When Kenya was being one of the first countries in Africa transitioning from the analog to digital, it was not a walk in the park. The media people, like my benevolent friend here, will tell you, they were on streets because they were shut down for at least 3 days. They were told whether transition or nonsense. It was not easy in the times of CS Matiang'i, Fred Matiang'i, and PS Professor Ambassador Bitange Ndembo of Brussels, Belgium. It was not a walk in the park. But what we have now, Kenya is the first country to implement BIM and digital twins in construction in my own industry. The first in Africa and the only country with a digital twin embedment in our own building codes. of 2024. It's not an easy thing. So can we stop this crying way or forever? But we don't want that when you are employed, myself as a chief engineer in the entire northeastern Kenya, that I start looking for a house. We have teachers in countries residing in the Simba of different homes in this country, including my village. Like my Simba that work at home. I almost rented it sometime back to a certain head teacher. That's the situation we have been in the country. And we cannot continue that path. And that is why it calls that for change to occur, the revolution sometimes is humanly violent. It affects us, it cuts back. But what we get beyond that one is not a walk in the park. So in conclusion, OTB, I think I need to cease my communication beyond that. In conclusion, it is pertinent, paramount for us as people of intellectual regime that as much as you are in opposition, point the bad things in government. OTB, to respond to your question about the project that I desire most could have been implemented in this country and was given by defeatists and doomsters who are intellectually ignorant. The PPP of Adani Group in JKA, I regret it to my grave. I hope it always comes to implementation. We fumbled Adani deal in JKA, and that is all. Relax. Don't confront me. The Adani deal could make this country, in less than 2 years, we will be competing top airports like Heathrow, Amsterdam, Dubai, Oliver Tambo, and even the San Pedro de Macorís of República Dominicana. That's how serious you are. When you project it, USA, all these top countries we desire to go, their airports are managed by the caliber of Adani people. We fumbled that deal. And that is why I realized that the opposition itself are full of people who are intellectually inferior in matters of development. Pay economic sabotage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lennox. Let us clap for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to... we really need to wind up in the next 30 seconds. We 30 alafu tukuje huko.
Nianze. Okay, actually that's issue of JKA, actually that was one of my best also, but my biggest problem actually is on the procurement process that the government itself is already tainted with a lot of corruption that goes beyond so many years, that even right now someone just sitting and Ruto saying is going to do this, there is already someone who is thinking that there is some corruption, there is some kickback, there is something that is already tied to this. That development that was going to be done in JKA was going to put Kenya in a very, very big place. But then, who was the tender being given to? How many corruption scandals have Stanley been touched with? So it is the procurement. My biggest problem with Ruto's regime is on the procurement process of every project that they want to do.
Okay, but permit me to respond in a professional manner, not that political approach. I don't know whether you know the definition of PPP. I bet you do not. The kind of a dandy deal was what they call BOT and DBOT. Tell him to say that one in full.
You asked me what PPP is.
Because I cannot be speaking professional things here that are written in universal standards, and you come here. DBOT is called build, operate, transfer. There's also called design, build, operate, transfer. SGR is a DBOT project. Did we complain as a country? We did not. Expressway here is a DBOT project. The kind Mauroni Summit is a DBOT project, if you don't know. In your local primary school, when you hire a fundi to build for you a roofing system, that is a PPP. The fundi is a private person working for a public institution. Don't make this thing so big.
Okay.
Don't question. I don't need any other clarity. I'm fairly informed
on the SGR
and OTB. You see,
and the cost of that particular project. Well, you said that the SGR was a B.
You can't.
Or they were the build, transfer, whatever thing that you wanted to say.
So that
but what was the cost? What was even the cost of construction of 1 kilometer of SGR? It was about, was it 80 million or how much? After how many years will we finish transferring that? What was the amount of scandalous deals that were attached to that particular project? So we don't have to fight everything.
Your question is quite clear, so let him respond so that we bring this to a close.
So you see, you must not respond to everything. These things are very professional things. And if you're not registered engineer, you might not understand BOT. And it's unfortunate. You are trying to argue it out. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, so in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is very imperative on us to realize that everything we do in this country we look at the end game. The process is not easy. There are corruption in the process of projects, there are tensions, but what is the end game? That's what matters. If you cannot look beyond the end game, then I think you really suffer what you call emancipation of the intellectual ignorance. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for that clarification. Let's have one final comment from this.
Okay, I wanted to respond to what my sister there said.
Yes, okay.
She said that if many people live in the same neighborhood, it will be dirty. And I know that, okay, myself, sijaitoka Kenya, but if you look at the places like Singapore, if you explore, you'll realize that their houses have so many people and they are always clean. But then when it comes to the government, we have already assumed that they will be dirty. And when I said false, he got emotional. Okay, she had posed the question. So it's not obvious, and those houses, they are not actually so bulky. It's not obvious that because so many people live in a certain neighborhood, it will be dirty.
True. That is well put. Let's have one final comment pale alafu niende huku sasa jamani.
What
30 seconds, okay.
Okay, what I've realized, they were not listening. The problem of dirty apartment is just one of the problems, but we all know that for us to grow, you must listen to the problems that are there and address them.
Very well.
Yeah. So the problem of being dirty, it was not that it's the problem. It's just one example.
Yeah. Very clear. Briefly, please, Ambrose.
Okay, thank you so much, OTB. The only thing I would really wish so that we wrap up this thing of affordable housing. Personally, I've applied for affordable housing and just up to finish my deposit so that I'll be allocated at least by next year. I should be having my own. And when I'm really looking into the money in which I'm going to save, it is going to be a lot because I'll be paying less than 6,000. Currently, where I'm living, it is even a 1-bedroom, but it is 15,000. Then I'm going for a 2-bedroom, which is 5,000. So you can look into that. And another thing, in terms of management of this, I now call them estates, just like the common estates we do have here in the country, where the homeowners come together and jointly share the upkeep, the common upkeep. That is the thing that is being implemented in the affordable housing. That's why I was telling him to at least read more. Because that is something that is already there. How the common upkeeps are going to be taken care of, the lifts, the things to do with the waste management and all that. They are all encompassed within the affordable housing program. And finally, it's just to say that, you see, when we do sabotage government project, that eventually will have to take place, then we also have to put into consideration that today the price might be lower. Next time you'll be considering it, the price will be higher. Let those people, my main thing is that let the people who complain come up with the relevant policy and also follow policy guidelines to ensure that these projects are also completed within time limits. Thank you so much.
Very well, very well.
Okay. Sorry. So thank you. And I'll start by expressing my disappointment in my friend here. When this guy was talking about affordable housing, her first question was, do you live there? You see, we could use the same logic when you're talking about Singapore to ask you, do you live there? And just say your point is not, and discredit you. So that is not okay. And then on the point Lennox gave about when we want change, we have to do something sometimes against what the people want. If you look at the trends in how the politicians behave in our country, for instance, when the new funding model was introduced, we really rebelled it. Juicy, the president again is saying people will learn free. So 3 years, he said he wanted to save the universities. Our universities still have debts. Suddenly, we are going to learn free. So suddenly, he has already saved them after 3 years. And we also know they are dead. So when he does that, do you think the next time he's going to present a project, we shall accept it?
I don't know.
You see, we also use patterns to determine our acceptance for these things, you see. And then again, I will again use his point to reinforce my point that when we want change, when we want revolution, sometimes we go to measures that will not be acceptable socially. The constitution came into place by people really going out to the road and all that. So again, when we want to make the people or the stakeholders, or rather the shareholders of our government to listen, sometimes you find that as the people, we are forced to take measures that would not be socially acceptable. Yes.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, on this side of the divide. Asanteni sana for your insights and your explanations. Allow me to shift to this other side so that we get their remarks na pia their parting shots, sindio? That we bring this to a close. But of course, even after the shot, naendelea na hii mkutano yetu, sindio? Let's start with Wakili Kidi Mwaga.
Thank you, Tony. You are doing a good job.
Thank you.
And again, you're having a very good, wonderful team. Young people, informed, passionate, and willing to argue. The way democracy is structured, democracy gets better when we are able to argue and find a common ground. So I encourage this a lot. My sister at the back has suggested that we come and say what the government is doing wrong. I think that there is nothing the government is doing wrong. The government is doing everything right, except that there is no human enterprise that is always 100%.
Perfect.
Usually there are unintended mistakes. There are occasional blind spots. But in the midst of all that, I want to assure you that the Commander-in-Chief, President William Ruto, has put his best foot forward to leapfrog this country into a middle-income economy with high levels of income. We are already working on Vision 2063 because Vision 2030 is coming to a close. SDG is coming to a close in another 4 years. So, and the Bible says that as far as you can see, that I will give you. So even God will only give us a country as far as the place that we demonstrate we can see. There is something Mwalimu, I wanted to add when Mwalimu finished speaking. So let me preface it by saying that we had what were called reforms in 2003, in 2004, in 2005, the first term of Kibaki. And I am saying this because I am inviting you to go and read more on this. Neoliberal reforms. One of the areas that the neoliberal reforms affected deeply and structurally is the place of provision of healthcare. Before 2003, if you are sick, for 40 shillings, you could get treated in many hospitals in this country. You needed, I think, 20 shillings to buy some card and 20 shillings, and you would get all the medications. Then in 2004, when Charity Ngilu was the Minister for Health, she attempted to introduce universal health care long before it became the geopolitical buzzword it is today. That bill enjoyed a bipartisan support in Parliament. But then when it got to State House, President Kibaki refused to sign that bill into law. Some of the challenges we are facing today and the reforms the President Ruto is trying to do today through SHIF are things we should have done in 2004. Because ask yourself, why is it that in the last 20 years, we have ostensibly built more dispensaries and health centers and upgraded some hospitals to level 5 and level 6, while health outcomes are either declining or have remained constant? It is because of how health as a sector was gutted, and two, placed so much in the hands of private actors to the detriment of public good. So that you've got private insurance coming in and taking over public health sector. So some of these reforms we are talking about, and because we're talking about sabotage, some of the sabotage you are hearing that SHA is not working is what you call corruption fighting back. The beneficiaries of the neoliberal era fighting back because they can't imagine that you're having a country where UHC can be a reality. Again, as young leaders that this country is looking up to, I think that let us continue debating, but I want to assure you, because you know the work I do with young people, so I wouldn't come here spewing propaganda, that the president is doing what is best for this country, and it is our responsibility as young people to line up behind him, 10 toes, kifua mbele, without any doubt. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Wakili, for that presentation. Let's go to Ms. Joan for our closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Council, for those great closing remarks. And I just want to reiterate that it's okay to be on different sides of a divide. It's fine. It's one's democratic right. You know, you have your reason for not supporting the current government. I have my reasons for supporting, because I see a lot of things that are happening that were not happening before. I have lived in this world a long time. I have children your age. So there are things that have changed. The way that the president is handling things currently is different from what we have experienced. And it's fine if you do not agree with it, right? So, and it doesn't mean that because I'm supporting the president, I should not listen to you. We are. And that's why we are seated here, and that's why we are having this debate. It's a very good thing. And when we differ with your position, when you try to correct you, it's not being emotional. You know, it's just putting a point across. And that's how we improve, you know, going forward. You will read, like you said, I want to encourage us to read more about the history of this country. We are incrementally getting better. We are not the same place we were in when Moi left, when Kibaki left, when Uhuru left. Things are better, and I like it because now it's becoming a competition. Each administration that comes into office wants to do something better than the other. And before we know it, we'll be much, much, much better. We need also to love our country. You know what you focus on? You give power. If you focus on something that is so negative, it will hurt you and burn you more. If you decide to look at something that is good, makes you feel good, it will give you more power and propulsion to move forward. I choose to look at the positive things about what this government is doing. It's something that I decided to do because of what I've gone through in life. So it's fine to be on different sides of the divide. And that's why we need you, because you're correcting government, right? Government will listen to you and improve on what it's not doing right. 2, do you guys know about Obamacare? How many know about Obamacare? Yes. I want you people, there's AI now. Just go and do your research on AI, on Obamacare, and compare it with Shiv Shah right now. He's talking about pushback. There's private sector that means a lot of money out of insurance that will lose business when shisha works.
Yes, yes.
Right? So there's that pushback, and it's a reality. It's competition. You know, when it comes to making money, there'll be pushback. So there are people who within this country are seeing this literally being taken out of them. So there'll be that pushback. Read about Obamacare, a very good healthcare system proposed by Obama that was also went through the same headwinds that we are currently, looking at dealing with in this country. For me, the Kenyan problem is we always think that the reason why I'm in this problem is because of someone else. We often do not introspect, to probably ask ourselves, what is it that I can do? We are talking about that within this whole social housing scheme. Who is making the place dirty? Ni nani anapeleka uchafu huko? Si ni nyinyi? Why are you throwing dirt everywhere? Why can't you make the environment that you are living in clean. It's something that can happen. So let's not throw responsibility away and refuse to take accountability. It starts from within. I'm always happy to be here with you guys. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. And then last but not least is Mwalimu. Please speak to the young people.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are now growing tired, so I just want to make a few observations. One of them was on SHA. SHA is the most misunderstood system in the Republic of Kenya. And what has added to this is the people who did not want it to succeed. SHA was one of the big four agenda of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta came with the big four agenda that included universal health care and included affordable housing, included food security, and included manufacturing. Unfortunately, none of those big four agenda of Uhuru Kenyatta took off nor succeeded. At least universal health care, we launched it in Kisumu through a method that did not take any money from you, but it failed. So when President William Ruto introduced one that borrowed from the failure of Uhuru Kenyatta's, then that group started making noise. Why do I say SHA is the most misunderstood system? SHA was initially developed to work on a system where you would get an accident in Kwale, your ID number put in the system, your medical records will pop up. Everything about you medical, including allergies and all that will pop up. Now, that system is the system in which the system developers would be taking a small percentage from SHA, from every person who uses it. In 30 years, the money they take from the system using that system would have amounted to 104 billion. Now, that is what the people are making noise that, oh, SHA is costing us 104 billion. The opposition has chosen to mislead the public. Let me tell you, in this country, Kenya as a country does not have the liquidity to pay anybody even 100 billion at a go. We don't have it. If we collect 3 trillion in a year, how many do you think we collect in a month? Just do the math. And that money we collect in a month, it goes to pay things as life moves on. So at any given time, we do not have billions lying somewhere to pay some fictitious people that they are going to develop SHA. That was a partnership. We bring the system which will manage this. The people pay you. Out of that, we take 0.1%. In 30 years, it will be 104 billion. But because there are people who saw this is a business that should not be handled by President William Ruto, it should wait until we are in power, we give it to somebody who will pay us beautiful commission. That is why every project this government is doing, either somebody runs to court or say it is corrupt. That's like my friend, the Talanta Stadium. It is true that it should cost 45 billion. It is also true that at the end of it, it will cost slightly over 100 billion, isn't it? But that is after 30 years. If I lend you even 10 billion now, how much do you think you will pay in 30 years? Tuju just borrowed money for 10 years. How much was it? It was 900 million. In 10 years, it was, I think, 4.5 billion. Look at that rise. So if we are building Talanta Stadium through a loan that we will pay in 30 years, how much do you think we should pay in 30 years? So these people lie to you without telling you the full truth, that actually this is a loan. We are paying it with interest for a staggering 30 years. That is true for SGR. That is true for Express. It's true for everything. But they want to lie to you. Just like I see a man commonly argues here that, you know, Uhuru left a debt of 9 trillion. Now it is 13 trillion. It therefore follows Ruto has borrowed has borrowed 3 trillion. What about interest?
Interest.
What about interest? So they lie to you because they know we are lazy thinkers. We don't want to spend time to scrutinize. Oya said that we should have remained with NHIF because SHA is not different.
Said we should have improved NHIF.
The SHA is the improvement. So how did they improve? No, let me explain to you how the improvement occurred. We were paying for NHIF to provide health care for those who have paid and registered. What happens to those who have chronic diseases and they can't afford it? Or they are not in employment? What happened to somebody who has gotten an accident in Kwale? A good Samaritan drops everybody into the nearest hospital. What happens to him?
Yes.
What happens to somebody who has a chronic disease that after all treatment has exhausted the NHIF? What happens to him? SHA came to solve that. Social Health Authority is the organization, is the parastatal. In that parastatal, we have 3 funds. The first fund is the NHIF that you had, but now we call it Social Health Insurance Fund instead of National Insurance Fund. Yeah, this one is exactly the NHIF, but we then introduced one which is called Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund. Emergency, you have another accident, you don't have anything, you go to hospital, 24 hours you are treated whether you have SHA or not. If you get an accident today, that is how SHA came to help. A chronic disease, chronic, critical. For example, I go to hospital, I am treated for 9 months, my social insurance fund is over, but I have cancer that is now chronic. They continue to treat me now, not with the shift, but now with emergency, chronic, and critical diseases fund. Separate. So we need to understand this thing before we make so much noise about it. And there is also what is called health fund, in which primary health care is taken care of. It's called Primary Health Care Fund, PCF. Primary health care, this is where money is being used to prevent disease outbreak in areas. Because disease outbreaks can sweep people even before that you reach the nearest hospital. So SHA was a parastatal formed to replace NHIF. NHIF was both a parastatal and a fund. SHA has come as a parastatal housing 3 funds, which is covering every bit of any illness you have. It is universal. It's just that Uhuru thing that Ruto modified to let it work better. But when Uhuru was launching, nobody made noise, yet it failed. So that is what I wanted to clarify about the so-called SHA. And there's something I wanted to tell you about. Somebody had said, can we really wait for 5 years to have a regime change? Data that we have, any attempt to change any regime through violent means, including guerrillas going to the bush, including street protests, even if you finally succeed, the victory is Pyrrhic. Either you spend so much in terms of lives lost, property lost, economy destroyed, when you could easily wait for 5 years, vote out the guy you don't want, and life continues. But going to the bush is what? Because in the world, the fastest ever takeover by a guerrilla movement took 15 years. That Kenya have gone to the bush. Kenya have gone to elections 3 times. You are still fighting to remove using the gun. Where you can use the ballot. So there was a time, there was a man called Salva Kiir, and they were fighting with, was it Riek Machar?
Yeah.
And the mediator was one Dalmas Otieno Nyango. He sat that Riek Machar down for just 5 minutes, and he had this way. He told him, Riek Machar, when is the next election in South Sudan? he now said it. Do you know anybody who has gone to the bush the way you have gone, who has taken power in less than 15 years? Name one. He did not name one. So the best thing, instead of campaigning using the gun, look for a microphone, campaign in South Sudan. When election come, call us as observers. You will be elected instead of Riek Machar, instead of Salva Kiir. And he did it. Because the guy couldn't find. You cannot. Even America went to Iran. They are still fighting today. They thought it would take a week. Russia invaded where? Ukraine. And those are superpowers invading Chinese. And they are still fighting there since 2020. Now almost 7 years. Right? But here is you with your bare bottoms, with a stone in your hand and a flag and a mobile phone. You want to replace a president with a military barracks here and there and a nuke. Through people are lying to you. They just want to make the government unpopular, but they know after they have made it unpopular, we will reach election time and you say, oh, he killed our people, he killed our boys. You're saying he killed people. Of course, Rex Masai died, and it is very painful. But as Rex Masai was lying on his blood, Uganda House was on fire. 6 Kenyans were burning in a mall in the center of town. Those ones are not painful. The only painful one is Rex Masai. MPs were getting out through the window. And what you know what they were relying on? Article 37. It is our right to protest, to picket.
And kill people.
Is it? So you see, this is the problem, politicians. The day you will all know that nobody becomes a politician to help the people, but to help himself, the day your eyes will open and you will see things clearly. All these politicians are for themselves. So when they tell you Ruto is bad, that is not that it is bad, he's bad. That is for you to join him in trying to remove Ruto. And once he has removed him, he will not be different. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that, ladies and gentlemen, and to our dear panelists, thank you for creating time and for sharing your words of wisdom with us. To the Gen Zs, I'm proud of you guys because you have done better than I expected, and I really just want to encourage you to continue the same trajectory. Thank you for also creating time and for joining us for this conversation. And this production has been brought to you by REDRING Media, and behind that is a very strong team, right from Errol Brand. Thank you so much for the support. Wycliffe Nyagol, Faith Arena, and very own Maurice. Thank you so much for being here with us. And to you, over to you, who has been watching us for the past over 2.5 hours. Thank you for staying with us on each and every Saturday, catching up with us for such amazing conversation. My name is Tony Blao Nyanga, and I've been your host. Till next time, bye.